वे तपस्या does reap benefits.
सर इसको आईएएस आपने बनाया, फोरम ने बनाया एक्चुअली। तो फोरम ने इसका पोटेंशियल जो देखा है और इसको जो तराशा है सर, उसके लिए सर फोरम को सैल्यूट है, दिल से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है।
तपस्या कैंपस है स्पेसिफिकली जहाँ पे हम खड़े हुए हैं। दिस शुड बी अ वे फॉरवर्ड फॉर एनी एस्पिरेंट।
Yes, good evening everyone. So all of you are appearing for the personality test this year. How many of you are first time appearers? Okay, fairly good. Chalo. So before I begin, so this is interview preparation like toppers do. That is what is expected. The interview or the personality test is the last leg of the civil services examination journey, and extremely crucial because it has, I'd not say the lowest effort, but high reward ratio. And if we are a little cautious, if we are a little alert, if we are a little methodical, process oriented, then we'll be able to do well. And if we take it a little casually, then I'll not say that we'll not do well. If we take it a little casually, then we'll leave it to fate. And fate can swing either ways. So there are people with very less preparation and they have done well in the past. And frankly, given this remains the most subjective part of the examination process, not that others are less subjective, but this is further more subjective. So before I begin, I want you to ask me your questions, lest I not miss it, though I have a list of my own, but still, what are the questions that you're having right now?
Different states due to father's service. So, how much?
Different states due to transferable job. Very good. How to prepare, which one to prepare? Yes. Yes. With for education plus work ex, what documents will be required?
So leaving the sports part blank.
Leaving sports blank. Okay.
Cadre selection.
Cadre service selection. That will take up.
Sir, how much time should be given for interview prep with respect to next mains and prelims?
Time for interview prep.
So I have done my bachelor's in Anthro, but opted for sociology masters.
Bachelor's in Anthro. Socio in Masters. Okay.
Current affairs preparation.
CA preparation.
Number of marks to give.
Okay.
How much depth keywords should be prepared?
Depth of preparation.
Sir, how to prepare the keywords from the tab?
Anyone else? Any last questions?
So, work experience questions.
What are the questions? Work experience questions plus degree questions. Okay, very good.
Sir, where to put internship experiences?
Internship. So this is with respect to filling. Yes. Okay, hobbies. Yes, we'll take. So cadre service hobbies.
How much is technical degree asked?
Technical degree. All right, work experience for degree. Fair enough.
What to prepare in static?
Huh?
What to prepare in static?
In static.
It's optional.
All right. Common hobbies like reading and writing. So we can do with two things. We can have it in two parts. Either we can focus on the first part, on the filling part, and the second part of the session we can have on the strategy. So which one would you like to focus? The DAF filling or the strategy preparation? Okay. Speak in one voice, the class. Some people are strategically speaking. They begin with stra and then end with DAF. Let us quickly take what is expected of you, though I have already, the preparation strategy. Let us take it very briefly, what is expected for you. So the first thing is, among the preparation strategy, the first thing that I would want all of you to do is, before even you get the dates, and that is, bacha log, please revise mains notes. The first thing that you need to do is, in the next 2 or 3 days, revise your mains notes, especially of paper 2 and 3. Because what happens is, as the interview comes closer, then suddenly people realize that I have been looking like a musk deer, I have been looking for that elusive fragrance everywhere, whereas what I'm looking for is already in my notebooks. This generally happens at the fag end of the preparation, isn't it? So you look everywhere and then you realize कि यार अपने mains के notes अगर पढ़े होते, if I had finished my own mains notes, I would be in a better situation. So that will reduce your workload by 60%, especially special focus on paper 2 and 3. This is the first thing you need to do. With respect to your optional subjects, this is optional subject also. It is a good idea. You look at your paper 1, some thinkers you should be aware of. And maybe in paper 2, if they have some interesting topics, then you do that. For example, in philosophy of religion, if you have philosophy optional, then maybe socio-political ideals, if you have it, then at least some of it you prepare. Third thing is newspapers. If you have the time, this is the phase where please try to read 2 newspapers. And I say not editorials. Not the editorial. I do not need an academician language right now. I need to know whether what is happening, you are aware of it or not. If the Prime Minister has given a statement, you should know it. If President Trump has said something, you should know it. You need to know the news right now and not a very deep editorial article that is giving you a very unique perspective on something. The unique perspective on something or an opinion article is very subjective, and it has often been seen that you have read a very atrangi article showing a very different dimension to something. These interlinkages are extremely important when it comes to your mains preparation, but for your interview, if you have very atrangi dimension, it won't go well with an objective bureaucratic board, which will want a very straightforward answer. Plus, why I'm saying you read the news, because when you read the news, you will be knowing the ground level realities, what is actually happening. So even for example, what is the reason that earlier the AQI used to come 600, 700, now we are not seeing more cross it more than 500. Then you should be having, if you have been reading news, especially outside of the Hindu, then you will come to know that, okay, earlier, for example, these machines that were made, the air purifiers, they were following the international norms. Now the government norms, the AQI index is up to from 1 to 500. So therefore now you will see that AQI will not, but the initial years it was reaching up to 1000. Now your AQI machines will also not show sometimes beyond 500 because they are aligned. So you have to know what is happening and what are the reasons. If there is a new update that is particularly, it is because of vehicular pollution, you have to have that update. If there is suddenly a study comes that it is because of farm fires, then you have to have that update. And again, you should be having a practical perspective in your interview preparation. That practical perspective comes from 2 things. One is your own practical experiences, which you will be lacking. You will not have it because you have never gone to a field to stop a farmer from burning farm. Second is you'll read a newspaper report where 4 government officials were gheraued by the village people and beaten because they went to penalize farmers for burning stubble. So you will know that what is the implementation challenge. Instead of having a superficial idea, that's a 3-pronged strategy we can have. So you will have to, why these matters are best dealt with judiciary, you will be able to appreciate it. Why you are able to implement, why the government cannot implement stubble burning bans, and why it will happen by the route of judiciary. You can appreciate that judiciary does not have the burden of popular pressure, but governments do. Hence, most executives would want that such orders should come from judiciary so that we do not have the voter wrath because of such initiatives. So you will be able to better appreciate it. This is what you will need to do until your dates, or as much as you can, and not more than 1 or 2 pages. It should not be deep editorial, but you should be knowing what is the news. If there is a bomb blast, then you have to know. So what you have a hobby that aligns with it, then you should be knowing that what chemicals were used for it. What is the reason for these radicalization? Do you think that it is linked to ideology, or is it linked to education levels? How much is it linked to poverty? So these dimensions you should have thought, and once you read it, then you will be able to interlink all these things. Then, as I've already told all of you, is that please have a register or your Evernote, the first register for your DAF, in which you will be preparing primarily the places in your DAF. And as somebody asked that, sir, I have multiple places in the DAF. In this case, the most important place becomes your place of birth, and the last place either of college and much more of work experience. These become most important. The third will be if you have any place that is mentioned in your DAF and that is having a historical significance, or for example, that is a tourist destination, then you should be preparing it. You have Jodhpur, so you went to do some course in Jodhpur, and now Jodhpur is there. So now the board member likely may have visited Jodhpur, and he will be asking questions on that. You have not, you are from Himachal, but from some small place in Himachal, but you have gone to NIT Patna. Now Patna will ring a bell, even if it is an intermediate place. It is neither your place of birth, neither your last place of work experience. Therefore, what you need to do is, you need to prepare it because it rings a bell. You have been, for example, you went for a degree in Banaras. Banaras will ring a bell. So you will have to prepare it. It has undue and disproportionate importance, even if it is not your place of birth, even if it's not the last place. So these things you have to prepare. In DAF, the places you will prepare. The second thing that will be most important is your hobbies. What do I mean by hobby? Yes, young lady, what is a hobby?
Sir, I've written poetry.
What is really your hobby? It is poetry. Good. So there is authentic person. You know what she's saying? She actually practices. She said, sir, I've written poetry. And then she said, yes, sir, it's actually poetry. Very good. What is a hobby? Define a hobby. You've been my student, so you should master defining anything. An act that we enjoy doing. Very good. It is an activity that is we enjoy doing, and we do it in our leisure time. Very good. Now, as civil services aspirants, your grievance will be, sir, we did not get that leisure time. By definition, we don't have a hobby. Now, what happens is, one of the things that is the interview is basically a process. If I have told you ever, answer writing is a process of trust building, where the examiner needs to know whether you know the answer or not, and he is going to make a quick impression about you, reading the first few lines. If he is not impressed, then he will read the further next lines. If by the third paragraph he thinks you don't know the answer, he awards you less marks. And if by a few questions he has developed that impression, then you get less marks. The interview will be a process of due diligence. I repeat, if answer writing was a process of trust building with the examiner, here the process will be of a due diligence. Look, the person, the psychology behind the interview is that the person taking your interview is a successful civil servant. He's not just a civil servant, he is a successful, which is by post-retirement he is able to get a position. And among one of the criteria for being successful is that your career record has to be bedag. You should not have any marks on it. If there is any questions on your integrity, you will not reach here. Please don't have this impression or come with this impression that the people who are most corrupt, they do very well in civil services. That is not the case. And after this idea, you have to throw it out of the window. You will always see the chief secretaries, the senior most persons. Generally, there will be people beyond, whose integrity will not be doubtable most of the times. If not 10 out of 10 cases, then definitely 7 out of. Similarly, these board members, there is always a concern that the integrity of commission has not been compromised so far. Therefore, the government will want such people whom they knows cannot be influenced by anything. So, and one of the criteria for these people to be successful is not just having integrity, but by their ability. So it's not just a quality, but by their ability to do due diligence. And that is having, because this is the skill set that you will need as a survival skill. In the last session that we were having, I was talking about with some students. So there's case where we had a probationer, and he goes to a village, and then 3 months of training as a block development officer, which you have. Now listening to the local officials, the Bada Babu, the clerk, they come, they bring a host of villagers, and they say, sir, people have been suffering a lot. This guy asked why. He said, sir, their fields have been affected by Neel Gai, the vermin, and therefore they need compensation. Now, without doing his own due diligence, ki, chalo, let me see where the Neel Gai has destroyed your fields. You made a ivory tower because you are rushing back to watch Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or whatever works. So you never wasted the field. And now what is the challenge you have? But you have civil services qualities of empathy, dedication to service, concern for the poor. You have all these qualities. Therefore, what you did, you gave the compensation. And you forget about it. This happens somewhere in October, November, or maybe in November or December. And by the end of your training, what happens is it rains heavily. Some people come, they say that there have been hailstorms, and a big boulders of ice have fallen from the sky, and their fields have been ruined. Now what happens? You ask the Bada Babu or the person who's there, and this person says that the villagers are very pareshan because a lot of them have lost their fields because of these hailstorms. Government always has a provision for compensating the farmer in whatever measures. You did that compensation also. And later by 31st March, when the collector is looking at your record, which did happen with a probationer, so this is a real life incident, the collector realized that the list of farmers that were given compensation, it was the same. The same farmer who said that their rabi crops were destroyed, their wheat and mustard fields were destroyed by the Neel Gai, and therefore they had no crops for the season, claimed that the same fields were again destroyed by hailstorms and took twice the compensation. Do you see? As a probationer, you will be forgiven, but if you were an SDM making that decision, you would not have been forgiven. As an SDM, you would not have been forgiven, because as a probationer, it is expected that the collector will guide you in such matters, and he will say, ki, chalo, I will override this. As an SDM, if you do that, then the collector will put that, please file an FIR against this officer that A, without due diligence, he has caused a loss to public exchequer. B, because you are a member of the IAS, you will not be jailed or prosecuted under Prevention of Corruption Act, which will happen if you are from any other service or a subordinate service, which you will escape. But here the collector may make a simple provision that whatever loss has been done to the exchequer, the officer must make good that. So therefore now you are waiting for your salary to come, or you will take a personal loan and you will compensate the government for it. And what do you learn after this experience? Due diligence. Agar पूछे कि kisan has come to me and says कि sir Neel Gai has taken over my fields, then you will ask which village you are. पता चलेगा he is not from that area. So 3-4 questions में he'll start sweating, and then you will come to know that he is impersonating it. He is faking it. What is in his application versus what is he saying he doesn't know. Somebody has told him that you write this village, this tehsil, this village, this panchayat, and this place. And when due diligence for the second time, even if you make a mistake, the second time when the same person comes, you recognize him. Your fields were destroyed by the Neel Gai. After that, what did you sow there? Which crop were destroyed by hailstorm? And now your Bada Babu has told that, sir, wheat has been destroyed. He will say, I am planting sarso. There you will catch him. This is his ability of due diligence. Just like a bank official will ask you a question, you are deeply under debt. You want another loan for which you are not eligible. You have misrepresented it. So I may just ask 5 questions, and in 5 questions, I'll come to know that you are not bankable. Which means, if I give you a loan, the bank is not likely. So this due diligence, that officer will come, he will learn in his probation phase as an SDM, as a collector, and maybe as someone very senior, and then he will come to the constitutional post of being a UPSC member. So he is very well ingrained to eliminate the bogus candidate, which is why it will be in his survival instincts when you say that, sir, I have poetry writing as a hobby. he will doubt it at first because he doesn't know you. So he will ask you that what are the genres of poetry that you write. You have not written poetry ever. You have no clue. You don't even know what genres are there. Or for example, a question which for my safety, again, this is not expected from you, but for my safety, I was, okay, tell me who are your favorite poets. Now your response sometimes lies in a red zone if you say, sir, first of all, I like writing poetry, but I never read one. Now the problem here is, depending on what is my thought process, if I'm a good writer, I know that a good writer is one who's also a good reader, because you will get new ideas only if you read extensively. Then you'll know that Divya Prakash Dubey, if I'm a Hindi author, then I know Divya Prakash Dubey has written Ibn Battuta and whatnot, and I'm reading and I'm getting update. So I'm having those ideas. So if you say, actually, sir, or for example, somebody says gardening, and I say, okay, tell me 5 plants, which are give beautiful flowers and they also have thorns, and the only flower you can name is a rose. Then you have perhaps not done gardening. You have watched movies of the 70s and 90s. Right? Fool or kaante dekhkar tumne bhar diya hai. My point of saying to you this is that when you fill up your hobbies, it is an activity done in leisure. You should have hobbies, and sometimes you will not have them. In which case, narrow it down, make it very specific, and prepare that one. If you're going to say my hobby is to go to child reform houses and work for their upliftment, you go to those houses. Because I often see that people will put them in their DAF or in hobby that, visiting, teaching children who are in conflict with law. I have been to such a child reforms home, working as a, when I was working in the government, I would go to such places. And if you have never been to such places, I will ask you 3 questions and you will be caught. For example, some people have this very Yash Raj Films idea that a child reforms home is where, you go like a hero and heroine and you give balloons to children and they are very happy and they love you. The reality will be far from that. There will be a superintendent of the child reforms home. He will be called a superintendent. The name will be an administrative term. It will not be a caregiver term. For the reason, these are children conflict with law. If you are any less rebellious today, remember how rebellious you were in your teenagers with all your hormones. And what will happen is you will see a TV is kept there. TV will be broken before you come and the people will say, sir, we have a broken TV. You will ask the superintendent, the truth will be that they came to know that an inspection is going to happen, so they break the TV last one night before so that they can put your job in trouble. They will say the worst expletives, the worst galiyan they will give to you, so much so that one person will lose his temper and one day before the inspection you will beat up someone, or they will fight among them and they will be having a damaged face. And on inspection day they will behave like very good children and say, sir, the jail superintendent beats us black and blue every day after drinking. So these are the realities of a child reforms home, which is why even the judges will say it is better to let him go than to send him to a child reform. Bal Sudhar Grih bhejne se badhiya, because there if he goes, then he'll become a hardened criminal. The civil servant who's sitting there, the member, he knows this. You have written that I work with children in conflict with law. You have never been to a Bal Sudhar Grih and you want to paint your image as a very big social activist. So then I find that you have never visited, and when I'm asking you 3 questions, you have a very romantic idea. My idea conflicts with your idea. Then I know that this person is not, either I'm not authentic, my experience is not authentic, or this person is not. What conclusion will most people draw? This person is not authentic. So make sure that you prepare your hobbies, you live your hobbies for a few days at least. If you're writing gardening as your hobby, no problem, but कम से कम 30 दिन आधे घंटे gardening कर लेना, ताकि खुरपी का अंग्रेजी नाम पता होना चाहिए, है ना? कि if somebody asks you how do you garden or what is, है ना, you will get other question. If a due diligence question comes, then you should not be looking and then you say that actually, sir, I didn't used to do gardening, because this happens in the real interview, which you don't read in a transcript because it is too embarrassing to mention it to your friends. Because those are private admissions you will make when you will screw it up. You will not write it in a DAF and upload it on Telegram. When people are grilled on such hobbies, which you will not know, the student will come back the same day, sir, they asked, and I said, actually, later when they asked too many plants, I did not know. Then I said, sir, actually, I helped my mother in gardening. And that is when you have lost the plot. Right? So these mistakes you do not have to do. So you prepare your hobbies. If you don't know, you always begin with what, why, how questions of everything. All right. Similarly, for prizes and medals, we'll see how the preparation part will come. First we'll see how it is filled. Then, yes, for register for DAF, what will you do? I want you to make a register like this young man has, and in one page, please have just one question. I repeat, in one page, you just have one question. What is your place of birth? Puri. Very good. Now he's in trouble. Too many questions. A lot of people have visited the place. So probably with the name Puri, I will have, so 5 or 6 questions will come from there. Let him ask a very specific question, put it in the page, and then please write answers and not full sentences. Just write the best ideas. That why is Lord Jagannath is a incarnation of which god? Lord Vishnu. Why then he is called Jagannath? I'm asking it just to break the conversation. Tell me why he is called Jagannath. Yes. So, and I'm not going to ask you this straight face. Maybe I'll be looking at your DAF and say, so why do we call Lord Jagannath? How did he get his name? And you're saying you have been born in Puri, lived all your life in Puri, and then in defense later after 3 questions, you say, sorry sir, I have not visited the temple. Now my problem is, now why this is important for me? You are from a different Zomato generation. You don't even know the restaurant that is located 2 streets down because you are ordering from Zomato. But the person who's taking your interview, he has actually traveled to those places because in their times, that was the place to go. You may have fancy aspirations of. Second is, think from a civil service perspective. I am looking for a person who's going to be in Puri, and then the guy never goes to the temple, never visits the district. That is half the problem. Therefore, the minute I am not worried about his GK of Puri and the temple, but I'm always worried about a civil servant who will move from his table and his chair and go and visit the places there. And when he doesn't know, then I doubt, iska kya karna hai. One question per register, keep it in the center of the page. Second question, for example, why Lord Jagannath, how did it get its name? Or what are 2 or 3 unique practices? You ask a question that what is good about it? When should I go? Just something like this, and just write ideas. Don't write full sentences and don't think of memorizing them. Now, my point of asking you to record and write is because I always meet students, when I meet them sometime in the month of December, they are my best student, and I said that, go, you will do very well. And I'm very happy that, chalo, we have candidate with a clear at least 180, 190, 200 plus. We will get a rank out of this candidate. And then I meet the same student in February. Now the quality of answers which he had in December has fallen down by February. With the passage of time, he has gone down. What is the reason? He has not recorded his responses. Look, the invention of the printing press was a major breakthrough in human history. If you think that the coming of the internet accelerated human progress, it was actually the printing press. Because for the very first time, you're able to write a record. And therefore, if you write, once you started to write something, the second edition or version was an improvement upon it. Now you have some very brilliant answers. I was interviewing a bright candidate. I'm not sure. I think she's on the list under 100 rank this year. I named her because her name was very unique. I hope she's. So I asked her a very good question. So she is from Haryana, from what I can remember, and asked that what is the reason that Gurgaon attracts more MNCs than, let's say, Noida. I was discussing it in one of the classes also with some of you. Anyone from Haryana here? Raise your hands, it's okay. Why would Gurgaon attract more MNCs than, let's say, for example, Noida?
Sir, vicinity to airport.
Vicinity to the airport. So that is a very well thought out answer. Ki, sir, MNCs, I mean, the airport, the Indira Gandhi International Airport is at the juncture between Delhi and Gurgaon. So therefore, it benefits from the airport. Okay, any other thing?
No cost of maintaining capital.
Yes, so we have discussed that. So you'll have to have a, once you've written down this question, that why Gurgaon may do better than, Noida. I'm just saying, if this question comes, then you have written down a very good answer like this. What happens is, a very good point like the location of the airport aids in the, overall development index of Gurgaon. Now, something like this, if you're not recorded it, in February you forget. And you start giving a very hanky-panky type answer. You don't remember why. And then you say, sir, Gurgaon, because, sir, there is better law and order compared to UP. The person taking your interview is from former Principal Secretary UP government. And he feels that UP is today a paradise compared to the 90s, which I also feel. All right, you do not have any idea how the 90s was. Most of you are born after 2000, a number of you at least, if not all of you, are late 90s or early 2000. You have no idea how things were. It was no less than African nations where anything can happen. So it was like that. I take an offense because from my perspective, I think it is a paradise, and I take an offense that how you can say the law and order is bad in UP compared to Haryana. And I am also been a part of the state, so I know that what are the steps and how much tightening of the screw has been done. So now you'll have to think, if you have written it down, and probably this was a fair enough point, and 2 months later, now you have lost that point and you're saying, sir, law and order is better in Gurgaon, so therefore MNCs prefer Gurgaon instead of Noida. So one is that you have lost good points. Second is your answers will not evolve. Your answers will not evolve. For example, if you wrote that if law and order is better in Gurgaon, later, maybe after 20 days, we'll see, yeah, law and order ki jagah, let me say that law and order perception. And perception takes time to change. He said law and order is equally good, but the perception of law and order is better with respect to Gurugram. The minute this addition of one phrase is done, your answer is now valid and equally. Sir, perception takes time to change. Or yet somebody, or sometimes in a good discussion, you will hear a very good point that somebody says, sir, Haryana does not have the burden of having a capital, of paying for a capital. They get Chandigarh as a union's territory, isn't it? So they get Chandigarh as a union's territory. Therefore, no expenditure on a capital. So they focus all their resources on the development of Gurugram. So it aims better. You got this idea. It's a fair enough idea. And then tomorrow you may have a counter question that why UP is such a big state, its resources are that of a sub-nation. Then there also you'll have to say, UP may have resources much better than Haryana, but because of the size of the state, but it also has limitations given it has too many satellite towns to take care of. It has to take care of Meerut also, it has to take care of Banaras also, Mughal Sarai, whatnot. And lastly, if they focus too much on Western UP, then there will be a disenchantment coming from Eastern UP, where a lot of democratic representation comes from Eastern UP, given the high population. So now you have those ideas coming in. And if you have not recorded it, then you may have a very good answers in December, and you have much poorer answers in February. Also because you were told by your mentor or the panel that you are a wonderful candidate, so you have not been taking mocks. And once you don't take mocks, you're not into that game. And then what happens is 2 months later, you have dumped down. I'm sure even right now, when you must have seen the interview, ke liye, you must have seen your name in the interview, you must have felt I was much more, and this will happen once a minute the interview starts, you feel that you were much more prepared for a lot of topics in your mains, but you have dumbed down in 2 months. Anybody feels like that? 2 mahine mein dumb down hua hai thoda? Raise your hands, be proud, nothing. Hai na? So let us not have these regrets that, I've dumbed down, kash 2 mahina padh hi liya hota. We have to do this. Next is the communication skills. Now, some of you, what you will also often observe is that when it comes to communication skills, there will be two kinds of people. One with poor communication skills and the other with extremely good ones. Poor communication skills and the other will. Who do you think generally does well? Now, because I'm asking a question, don't game me. Because I asked a question, so you know the correct answer. But still, just be yourself and tell me, who does well? Who's likely to do well? First is, who's likely to do well? Person with good communication skills, yes. But often you will see, and I have seen, that when you'll go to your academy, obviously there will be people with good communication skills, they'll do well. But you'll often see sometimes that 200 plus candidate is a very quiet guy. He doesn't participate much because he doesn't have much things to say. And because he doesn't have too many things to say, he's largely an introvert. If you ask him a question, he will probably say, I don't know. He doesn't have the best communication skills. But what he has done is that often, so you must have had this question or this thing of resource curse. Have you heard of this term? People generally with good communication skills, and these days we have too many of them because communication skills, which was a rare commodity maybe 10 years back, is a not so rare commodity given the generation change that has happened. We are able to feel it, which is why I'm saying this. So just 10 years back, we had more people with poor communication skills than good communication skills. Today, it's vice versa. We have more people with good communication skills than poor communication skills. I'm not talking about confidence and being an introvert. Those are different things. But what I'm talking about here, basic English language skills or Hindi language skills. Now, what happens is because this person is extremely good with communication, he does not do preparation. Why? In any group, because of his English, he is able to dominate. Have you met such people? Yes or no? So everybody is very impressed. His English is so good or her English is so good that everybody thinks they will be the ones. Now they get so much praise. They get so much praise from your friends. And I've told you this, praise from friends is the biggest bottleneck that you may have in civil service preparation. Right from prelims to the mains to the interview. If you have friends like that who praise you a lot, कि तेरा तो हो ही जाएगा. मतलब पहले तो समझ लेना कि इंटरव्यू छोड़ो, पहले तो प्रीलिम्स में ही बाहर हो जाओगे अगर 2-3 ऐसे मिल गए. If you get friends like that who says कि तेरा तो हो ही जाएगा. Have you seen it happen? These disasters happen around you? So this, please be aware of such friends. You say, you ask me question, don't tell me a commentary कि तेरा तो तेरा हो जाएगा, मेरा हो जाएगा. What will happen is his friends will bloat him so much that he will be gloated, and what I often call is he will shine in reflected glory. You know what shines in reflected glory? The moon. An object of a romantic evening, but does not have a light of its own. The person does not work on content and merely shines bright in the reflection of his good communication skills. And these days, the boards, the panel mocks that sit, they are a lot more experienced. But earlier times, at least 5-6 years still back, I would say that the boards which were not, because these panel mocks and boards are so all pervasive only in the past 5-6 years. Before that, there were only 1 or 2 places or 3 places where you would have a board member or a panel mock. Earlier, this was limited. So this have become a little more pervasive, but even boards would fail and be very impressed with your language skills. And sometimes those language skills, underneath the language skills is hidden a complete lack of content. What happens? How do you identify that? In a question of what is the population of UP, instead of telling me the population, you say, sir, I don't know the exact figures, but it is actually very huge. As if the board member did not know. And then you quote for the things that are easy to remember, such as, if it was a nation, UP would be the... Nobody remembers. And I thought this was an easy to remember fact. All right, fair enough. So therefore, this person does not, and sometimes a person with poor communication skills, I can tell you, I'm not talking about poor communication skills, but I've seen people. Last year we had a candidate, he is in the Indian Administrative Service. I got a message, he is in the NPA right now. So I have been seeing him in these interview sessions. Is saal nahi aaye hain, thankfully, but last year also he was there. A candidate from rural background, always underconfident. He would be always in the last. टोपी पहन के कभी ताकि उसको पहचाने ना. And he got IPS twice, and this year he's got an IAS. You would see that in the end he is able to get an 185, 190, 196. And the much brighter from the same college, much brighter, more cosmopolitan, more English-speaking students have gotten much lesser marks. And you will meet, he will be very well prepared. His preparation is very strong. So no matter what question you ask, either he will answer the question or he will say, I don't know the answer. And just take his junior from college. He'll be the most voracious speaker. Ask him a question and he will beat around the bush and everything. And in the interview, you will see those scores reflected. So remember, poor communication skills is not a test of how you'll go. It's always about how your preparation is. All right? So I want you to work on your communication skills. 2-3 things you can do. First is, those of you who have been, not speaking the language or the medium in which you are going to appear for your interview, please start practicing it now. Speak English. If English is your medium of interview, speak it all the time. If Hindi is your medium of interview, start speaking it all the time. Don't be the kid from Hindi medium who's 15 days before the interview he says कि sir मुझे शुद्ध हिंदी नहीं आती, English हिंदी mix करके बोले क्या? You have to mix the languages, but this is a matter of an informed choice कि हाँ शुद्ध हिंदी नहीं बोलनी है. ये नहीं कि तैयारी नहीं हो पाई है तो अब जैसे होगा वैसे करेंगे. तो all of you those who have the habit of not speaking in English, please start communicating in English with everyone, including your friends from right now. You start here, by 30th day you will have clarity, or else you'll be fumbling. I'll come to more on that. So communication skills first is speak English, the language. The second thing with communication skills is take a moment to organize thoughts and then articulate. It's a skill and it works. Organize thoughts and articulate. What do I mean by this? I asked this candidate what are the 3 problems with Puri as a district. The candidate speaks first and thinks later. Now, this is something which is one of the boons of youth. Right? You have too many thoughts going in your head. And now he has no answer for it. What will he say? So, sir, basically, Puri has many problems and several challenges exist. One of the first challenges that comes to my mind is, what are these? These are garbage words. What are these? These are, repeat after me, these are garbage words. None of it, what he has said, has made a sense. Sometimes it is also in written language, we call it verbal diarrhea. He is speaking and speaking. There are many challenges that people are facing and they are very deeply troubled by it. I, as a citizen and resident of Puri, have also faced such challenges. You are saying basically beating around the bush, but you have not been able to arrive. Answer these challenges are both with respect to civic, with respect to security, with respect to, ये बोले जा रहे हैं. मुझे 3 challenges नहीं बता रहे हैं. I have a problem with that. While you will have garbage words problem, but you have to minimize it. It's an official communication. It's an official. Anybody beginning an answer with basically, it means he doesn't know and he's thinking. And we'll come to elaborate on this later, but please eliminate garbage words. Third thing, with respect, so communication skills ka preparation karo. Then dress and demeanor. Now, increasingly, I'm telling you, now the board that we had, maybe 10 years back, it was the 70s and, early 80s batch. Now we have the late 80s and 90s batch. Late 80s or those batch members are there. Increasingly, the dress and demeanor, and particularly these things, are starting to make an impact also because you are in times of extreme competition. So earlier there was a time where you could wear literally anything and you were awarded, and those things were looked up upon. Why were they looked upon and why they will not be looked upon right now? Tell me. Change of fashion?
So there was a higher inequality in the society.
Very good answer. That's a wonderful. What's your name, young man? Yes, I will tell you that was acceptable. There have been times in earlier times where somebody will be wearing a plain shirt and a pant and slippers and he may go. The attire will not matter. Why? Because you were living through times where there was a massive poverty problem in the country. That level of abject poverty does not exist anymore. The hopeless poverty is not existing anymore. The last hunger death that happened in the country was in 2018. But before that, every year we had hunger deaths. And India's comparison was to sub-Saharan Africa. No longer we have that level of poverty. It simply means that the person is casual. He is not sincere about his efforts. Everything matters. Make sure that in the first week itself, in the next 10 days, 15 days, you have finalized 10, 15 days. Choro, ek deadline rako 10 tak you finalize your close. And all young men, okay, those it is your first interview, but even no matter whether it is which interview, please get a good suit made or whatever you decide to wear. Please have multiple copies of it. Don't worry कि इंटरव्यू नहीं होगा तो कब पहनेंगे, ठीक है? क्योंकि in civil service preparation, you don't dress up well, right? You don't generally get too many occasions. You don't go out on social occasions. But don't, so invest जो करना है करो इस समय. Dress and demeanor. Please make sure that with respect to women candidates, it has often happened and it will happen every year. It's not with dozens or hundreds of candidates, at least with anywhere between that number would be in double digits, where women candidates, they have not been able to get the help of sometimes their parents or mothers coming in also. So you have to make sure that you're appropriately dressed. Means you have to be dressed as well dressed as other candidates are. You have to be cautious with respect to it. You have to always take an opinion from someone. It is important. Sometimes it has happened that they have been hasty in choosing an attire, and we have in this, during an interview, it has been the panel has asked a lady member sometimes or a lady coordinator to go out because the male panel member is there. So it has come and it has been communicated by a lady coordinator that please tell the women candidate to take care of, for example, transparency issues. And in the dressing, that should not be there. You have to see it from that. And what happens is, it's not something that somebody has done it knowingly. What has happened is, you are simply not focusing. मतलब इतना हालत खराब है 21 दिन में इंटरव्यू है कि जो भी हुआ ये कर लिया. You are not aware that it's not, you have not taken care of those. So please take the views of someone elderly. Get your parents, mother, whatever, or help low, or dress in the most formal manner, in the most modest manner. Both these things have to be there. So do this. You can wear both a sari, you can wear a suit if you like. It is always good to wear a sari. There's nothing wrong with it. Also, make sure that you are appropriately sleeved. No moral policing, but make sure that you are appropriately sleeved. And if needed, you can wear a blazer on the day of the interview. I mean, we had every year there will be some students where, for out of respect, they have not worn a blazer, and sometimes the board has said, so you are not feeling cold. And it has come more than once. This has been told by the board as if they have been, troubled by it. Right? कि क्या बात है, इतनी गर्मी, इतनी ठंड है, और you are going to have a winter interview right now. It's not always the case. There are summer interviews also. अभी तुम लोग का चल रहा है, तो you have a winter interview. So be appropriately dressed. Take a call from your parents or mothers. Then please, preparation strategy is, please take the first panel mock as early as possible. I repeat, please take the first panel mock as early as possible. Why do I say that?
To realize what is our mistake.
Not for the mistakes part, but primarily to realize what is the mistake in what? Not in your personality, but to realize what is the mistake in your preparation. What happens is, this is the whole problem with the whole examination system. I have often said, that perfect is the enemy of good. Some people want to be perfect. They will say, sir, I first want a preparation because I will get very demotivated if the board says you are not prepared. That to hell with what the board feels right now. What is more important is whether you are on the right trajectory or not. And you have been preparing and mugging up things like anything, and then you realize that the board is asking very different questions and aapne us angle se socha hi nahi tha. You won't have that excuse that I did not think like that. That should not happen. So take the first, after that you take the second mock if you have a lot of time, even if your interview is in the month of March. After that you take the next mock whenever you want. You take it after 1 month, I don't have a problem. But initial first mock, second mock, you take as soon as possible. The board will tell you are not prepared, but that feedback will hit you hard. And you will suddenly realize that it is not like some teacher is pressurizing you that you prepare. You suddenly realize that this is the verdict given by the board. And then your sincerity will be altogether very different. And you see this in MGP all the time. Some student is not writing it for 3 months. Why? What he wants to do is, he wants to prepare and then wants to write the MGP that wins him a Nobel Peace Prize. Isn't it? That is what he wants. That is not going to happen. The minute he's been preparing self-help groups like anything, whereas the question that will come is FCRA Regulation Act. And he has not even thought about it. Then he says, then he realizes that my whole preparation is a scam. Right? So this will happen to you also. पहला mock ले लेना, थोड़ा खराब होगा, board member कहेंगे you're not prepared, and that's okay. But you get the direction. And when you take that mock, please list down the questions they ask you and then prepare it. You will get a lot of questions that are asked in the panel mock. You will get it there. Also make sure that some students have this question, how many mocks? There are 2 philosophies with respect to the mocks. One is that minimal, that some people take 3 or 4 mocks. And the other is a maximalist approach. You can follow any of these approaches. I recommend the maximalist approach for the simple reason is that I have nothing to benefit from it. We will only have 1 mock panel. You will be roaming around here and there in other coaching, so I have something to lose. if you take too many marks from other places. But still, why I recommend it is because, and with that there's a star mark. The star mark is that don't take too many feedbacks. Take marks, but don't take too many feedbacks, because too many feedbacks will make you many persons in one person. So this has to be taken care of. And every week one mock will keep you on your toes. Otherwise, if your interview is in February or in March, you will forget you are a civil services interview candidate. It will be a blank memory, and when the interview will come, you will have an SOS call. Sir, interview ki tayari meri nahi hui. And I ask you what? Then you will tell me what nearly all बीमार लोग जो कहते हैं कि सर मैं ऑप्शनल पर फोकस कर रही थी. Optional is a great tool to eliminate competition in UPSC. If they remove optional, मना के रखो कि optional हो. Not because competition does not decrease, it eliminates the competition. Meet kids in 5th and 6th attempt. पूछोगे क्या है, सब कुछ कहेगा सर prelims ही नहीं हुआ. You tell him everything. In the end क्या कह देगा? वो सब तो ठीक है सर, अब ऑप्शनल का बताइए. 5 साल से prelims नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन अभी भी ऑप्शनल का. उससे क्या हो रहा है, उसके मनाओ कि हो, not because you have to work hard for it, but because it will eliminate a lot of people just doing that option itself. So make sure that you take a weekly mock and then take the feedbacks. If at all you get a disturbing feedback all the time, come to me and discuss your feedback. Is sir ये बार-बार ये बोला जा रहा है. अगर ये बोला जाएगा, then there is objectivity and we'll have to fix it. And nearly everything can be fixed with practice. Few things as a part of your strategy I would want to point out about is, one is, yes, bolo. हाँ.
If my medium of expression is English and the board starts to take the interview or starts a little bit speaking in Hindi, then we should also follow up in Hindi or should continue with the English language?
The first time, see, there is a very important thing which is known as conditioning. You have to condition the board as per you. So if the first time they start speaking in Hindi, and then you may still continue to speak in English, right? If it happens a second or third time, then maybe you may change. Otherwise, it is strongly recommended you maintain your English language. Also appreciate that some of the members may not have the fluency in English language. It may happen. Again, these problems are least likely to happen in your time, but maybe पहले ये problems होती थी because the language itself
happened last year
with one of your friends. Then you have to appreciate that he has a fluency problem, which is when you will slow down, extremely slow down, so that whatever you are saying is making sense to the board member who's 60 plus and may have a host of problems, including a bit of hearing. Okay, so you have to appreciate and condition the board. Yes, mistakes made in filling DAF. First is, underfilling is not such a big problem, but yes, it has to be appropriate. The only, again, between underfilling and overfilling, I recommend this will remain a bigger problem. Underfilled apps, people do well. But yes, कोशिश करो कि to the best of your abilities, please make an effort and fill the DAF. Also make an effort and fill hobbies, prizes, medals. Try to be inclusive. So then there is the overqualified for the job candidate. This is another problem. I am telling you what happens in the interview is you have put something in prizes, medals, hobbies, extracurriculars, and you have written down things. In the interview, my objective will be to make sure that this person who's in front of me, he who claims to be on the paper, they have to match. And if I'm doubting that, then there'll be a problem. One of the ways to score, whenever you write this extensively, then you set the bar high, and then you have to match it. If you match it, you get a 200 plus. If you don't match it, then suddenly you get a 150, 160, or maybe less. 160, 140 will be a different reason, but primarily. So keep it somewhere in the middle, that you have mentioned things. On the other hand, if you are the aggressive types, then you can, I will show you some tabs where people have filled it well and they have prepared very, very well for it and they have gotten 200 plus. So you will see some tabs where people have filled it. So do this. Then overqualified for the job, what do I mean to say is the person has so many wide hobbies and degrees, and not degrees particularly, education will not be independent, but you have so many distinct hobbies that I don't think you will have the stability, especially with two kinds. One is, the businessman IAS aspirant. For example, too much of forex trading. Hobbies में forex trading, futures and options, दिन भर बैठ के ये किया है, पता नहीं कैसे ये हो गया है. The board has, these days we have a lot of tolerance for it because there are people with these options also, but it should not be an over exaggeration. And I have a very wonderful candidate, 300 marks, पूरा पर बड़ा popular रहता था. तो मैंने उससे पूछा एक दो बार, I did not feel appropriate to tell him. अभी Indian Police Service में I spoke to him a few days back. So he had a lot of these, forex usage. Then in the end, he took an opinion from somebody and he said, "Ki ye sab nahi dalo." Then he said, the board will have an adverse opinion. I'm looking for a person who's preparing, who's a civil services aspirant and a future civil services officer, and he's too busy doing forex trading and futures and options and stock trading. And you may have one or two options like that, but then if it is the only thing that appears in your hobbies, again, I repeat, it is good if it is camouflaged. Let's say you want to write it, there's nothing wrong. But people who have done well with these things are ones who always have other hobbies also, so that it is camouflage. Everybody understands what is camouflaging? You should at this stage at least.
I do freelance. तो वो लिख सकते हैं.
लिखो freelancing. Doing what, for example?
For example, I solve mathematics questions on
some website. Yes, Doubtnut, jo bhi, you can write that. There are people with that, and everything is right with it. Yes.
Can we have just one hobby?
And what is that?
For example, it's art.
Art. Now you have to be a little more specific with that. Mandala art. So you like painting.
It's not painting, it's like sketching, it's like doodling.
It's like doodling. So you write something like doodling, mandala art. You write that. See if you can have 2 hobbies or 3 hobbies and then prepare for it. Otherwise, it's okay. You can have people with 1 hobby who also have it. There's nothing wrong with it. Remember, you are always in trouble by having written more than having written less. The only thing with hobbies is that when you write things with your hobbies, you have to be very prepared and you have to live your hobbies. You will get questions from there. If you are not writing it, then you get questions from current affairs and they can go in any direction. So you get the logic very clearly why you have to do it. Yes, sir.
Sir, will the board have only the updated tab or the DAF one as well? Because if you make any drastic change in the hobby, will it be reflected there in comparison, or they will be having only the updated one?
See, currently, last year what did they have? Asha, you were not there in the interview. No, they have both the DAFs. At least that was the last thing, that they had both the DAFs. We are unable to see why, because earlier there used to be a summary sheet, which was 1-page printout. Now what they're having is, they made some changes. Now they're having both the DAFs. They're also wanting that, because earlier the problem was people have written something and that is a long back, and by the time the interview comes, things have changed. So they are trying to incorporate it. So so for your purpose, they will or may have both the DAFs, but it is okay if you have variations in DAF 2. You say that DAF 2 is your final position. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no grilling with respect to those aspects. That DAF 1 you filled this, but DAF 2 you said that, you remove that hobby. And when you get something like this, please speak to your mentors and teachers. Say, sir, what will be the justification? And fairly well, you can say the justification like, that, sir, I reflected better and I felt that while this was a hobby, for some time I had not been engaging into it. So, and for past few months, I had been doing, for example, X activity. So that is the reason I have dropped it in my DAF 2. Right? So please do not have too many futures and options, too many startup ideas. It's fair enough. Now what happens is with startup ideas, what is my concern? Somebody says that, sir, I have been working in a startup. Now, देखो जैसे है ना कि as an employee, when you're applying for a company and then you come to know it's a startup, there's chances of a scam. Similarly, the board also feels that people who have written startup, they better justify it. So I say that, okay, this startup you have been reading. Now what happens is most of the times people, they have a seed idea or they have an idea and they oversell this idea as an actual startup activity. So for example, one of you thought that I will do milk delivery via drones in housing societies. Good idea. Now you have written that down. Ki milk delivery via drones. The board says ki by drone rules are not following. Bola ki sir, actually it is in inception phase. It's not a startup if it is only started in your mind. है ना? तो ये चीज से बचना. It creates an authenticities problem. And then there are people who have been serial startup people. Like this startup, that startup, and every startup has failed. While there is nothing wrong with it and the world has to be kind and compassionate to startup founders, then it looks as if there is a a lot of times these things fail not because of bona fide reasons, but because of the problem of the character of the person. I don't mean in a moral way, but what I simply mean is the strength of character is lacking. He doesn't have conviction in what he's doing, which is why he will hop from one idea, two friends from college, startup idea, then 3 friends from UPSC, another startup idea. Now he says, sir, actually I have 3 startups, and all those startups are where? None of them exist in reality. Then there's a problem. And I always think if this person is a businessman, I is aspirant, I don't need it. All right. Then another is social activist candidate. Please don't mention a lot of public policy unless you have done it. Now what happens is, I had a good candidate, very loaded script from Hyderabad. I remember because I got a call from one of my former students, and I also remember because she was an ex-Microsoft. So because I'd worked there, so it hit me, Gachi Bali. And I saw too many of UN conferences, this conference, that conference. Why I'm saying that you be limited when you are mentioning this is because maybe somebody has UN this conference, or for example, part of UNICEF. Now you will be hired as an intern. And your job will be probably that somebody who's making inquiries on the website of UNICEF, you are maintaining an Excel file. That's all that you're doing. You are probably taking up appointments. You are probably working towards making arrangements for the events and making sometimes opening speeches in some. And I'm not saying this is insignificant work. It is significant work, but maybe this is all you'll be doing in your age. Now, either you prepare with respect to whole climate change philosophy, what is India's position, or you don't mention it. Because I will be asking you a question with respect to, that what is India's position? Has our position weakened than before? Then you should have a clarity that in some aspects, sir, India's position on climate change has weakened, primarily because now India, China are not a single block on the international climate change negotiations. Earlier we were, now we are divided. So India has the sole responsibility of, for example, and the Association of Small Island Nations, like they feel that India is we are not good on those fronts. Those are our weak areas, right? We do not want to commit to phasing out coal, and which is why at this we are at loggerheads with. And what we did was, in earlier times, we said that if you want us to phase out, you fund us. This was going on. Now those things are gone. China said that I'm not with India in this matter, and I will be having a different trajectory. So now you are alone. And now you were a leader of small island nations who were worried that if sea level rises, we will go down. Now they don't also like you. So there our leadership also has been on question. So you have to know this. If you don't know this and you say he attended a global climate conference in this and that because of association with academia or administration, because of your parents' position, and then you don't know such things, then it won't work out. So social activist candidate, you may have certain things, but don't make it look like that. Then not pursued a hobby since 4 years. You have written a hobby, and then after the 3rd question, you try to defend your lack of answering the question by saying, actually, sir, I have not. You have written reading fiction. Then what happens is I ask you, what is the last book you have read? And you say Dan Brown, Digital Fortress, or Eric Siegel's Love Story. The book was written maybe 30 years back. And you ask him, when did you read the last book? And you've read a last book like 4 years back. Then there's a problem. If you're now this may be a reality for most of you. The last book that you read was before you decided to prepare for civil services. Then civil services happened. And now you don't have time for reading anything. So in these weeks and months, at least to go through 3 or 4 books that you claim to have read, you should be able to. And don't get into trouble by writing books or saying about books that may have a deeply philosophical overtone, such as Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. If you have read it well, write it, but don't try to sound intellectual in front of a person who has been at least as smart as you when he was your age, at least as smart as you when he was your age, and perhaps more. Plus, he has 30 years of that smartness experience. So remember, the board member is nobody. Sometimes what happens, first-timers interviews have this arrogance that it is my area of expertise. I've been working on AI, and therefore AI question, how will the board member know? Now, the board member doesn't need to know about AI, but what he needs to know is he has seen 10 people like you who claim to be AI experts in the past few years. They've asked the same question, and I don't need to know the answer. I merely see the legitimacy and logical coherence of your answer versus his versus his versus his, maybe on the same day of the asking the question. And therefore, I know कि यार इस answer के बाद he has set the bar very high. After this, anyone who says any lesser answer, I'm rejecting him. Like any mechanical engineers here? Yes. So mechanical engineers, how will you use the knowledge of mechanical engineering in administration? Tell me, what have you thought?
Sir, solid waste management.
Solid waste management, very good.
Or sir, manual scavenging.
Manual scavenging by using robotics. Okay. Yes. मैंने अभी immediately नहीं सोचा है. Yes, the person ahead of you, you were also mechanical engineer. You haven't thought about it. हाँ. तो दो बातें हैं. पहले तो on anything that is written in your DAF, you have to think. It cannot happen that there is a pertinent issue, whether it is a bomb blast happening in Delhi and you have not thought. This should not happen in the interview, which is why the preparation time we are given. And secondly, you may say, sir, mechanical engineering. So I asked some candidates and somebody says, I haven't thought. Somebody says, solid waste management, this and that. Well, he's very good answer, but somebody may say, sir, I don't think that the knowledge of mechanical engineering directly can be used in day-to-day administration. Now that's also a fair answer. Now what happens is once I get that answer, after that I get too much of an artificial answer. Your answer was a good one. Okay? But if somebody says that, sir, several ways, just like mechanical engineering is all about efficiency, in administration, I will bring the same efficiency. Now you're saying that. Before that, there is a person with poor communication skills and says that, sir, direct application of mechanical engineering in day-to-day administration will be difficult. My knowledge and reading of social sciences during civil services may be helpful, but now that person has destroyed every other answer which is too inflated. So think of it. I have gotten that answer. Now I don't need a. So my comparison is not that somebody has prepared the best answer how mechanical engineering is you'll use in administration, but I'm simply have to do a comparison job. So therefore, not putting all services. This is for those of you sometimes in the initial attempt says, sir, I only need 4 services. Earlier, the system was different. It may happen that you will be allocated service in the last. From what I'm aware, cannot confirm this, but if you're not, there have been students who have not been allocated service. If everyone else has, I'll put it. So don't do this in the initial attempt at least, put all the services. Now mistakes made in the preparation. The first mistake which nearly everybody will make is in the initial attempt is not preparing. Why? Because they have called it the, what is it? So everybody is happy कि मेरी personality में क्या दिक्कत है? Rookie mistake. Just like the syllabus of current affairs is that any person with general interest in events around them should be able to answer the questions in prelims and mains. और यहाँ पर क्या होता है? रटना पड़ता है. उसी तरह से, so a lot of people, they think that it's a personality test, and if these days these things are debunked, people are more forthcoming and rigid. But technically, you will see that if you want to be YouTube appropriate, then the best way to begin this session was by saying that it is a test of your personality and does not require specific preparation. Everybody on YouTube says, yes, this is what we want to hear. But there's a very different struggles for the personality. First is under preparation for several reasons. One, a lot of people think that it's how they are, and actually some people may benefit from it. I'm not going to say there have been people whom we have seen do quite well with less preparation. There have been people, but that number is very minuscule. You'll know in 3, I will meet probably 600, 700 students. That is the best I can meet in a year, not crossing 1,000, but 600. In 3 years, probably you'll find one person who was underprepared, but he has done well. And then there will be something else which he'll be doing to compensate for it, but that's okay. Then the second is the private sector hangover. Some people who have too many degrees, IITs, IIMs, and work for 2 years in PwC and then work for 3 years in Deloitte, and then they think that I've gotten a job offer from 3 companies. And what happens is they think that these job offers will convert to a job offer from UPSC. Now, UPSC is a government organization. It is a hierarchical service based with full colonial hangover. So you're doing very well in a Google interview or an Facebook or a Meta company interview where you are asked a question and you said that think aloud. That does not work here. In the name of thinking aloud, you are not supposed to dump garbage in front of the board. I mean, any tech background people here who have worked in, yes, they work for any other FANG company, they'll ask you estimation problems. And then they'll say that, tell me, how will you solve this, and think aloud. And you'll be thinking that, sir, how many, the questions of how many crows are there in New York City, and they say that, sir, these are the households, therefore this would be, you come up with a number. Now here, if you think aloud, they will say, no, please tell me. They'll say, do you know the answer or you don't know the answer? And then what happens is you retreat and then you speak the truth. Sir, I'll have to think. They say, then you think and tell me the answer. Don't just spill garbage over me. So please don't come with this idea. This, no matter what you're reading in the interview transcripts, because there will be people like that who will have. So private sector hangover, please don't have it. Then there is a lack of formal English, such as the spelling mistake also. Some people will have this habit of always having "ar" in every communication. They'll be coming in, even in a panel mock or a one-on-one, they will be having the demeanor as if they are talking to an equal. Have you met such people? They are talking to an equal. I'm telling you, the person is a constitutional authority. As long as he's in that chair. So any state services person, think of it, any state services person who's of 55 years old, after 30 years or 25 years of service, his name is sent to UPSC for a final say on whether he can be promoted into the IAS or not. And all those persons across India, every state will send the list of KAS, Rajasthan Administrative Service, UP Administrative, Bihar Administrative, Assam. All this list has to be approved by whom? By the UPSC. And no, it will not just be the chairman. It will be because there are so many states, so many officers. So these people know that by one stroke of a pen, they can make someone an IAS, the culmination of one's entire. I'm sure some of your parents must be in state services. That is often a reason. And if they are there, the kind of achievement it is for somebody who's in the state services to get promoted to All India services, whether from state administrative to IAS or from state police to IPS. It's a big achievement. And these people who are sitting there, they have the power that they're putting one objection, no matter which chief minister has recommended your name from the state. If they put one objection, then that person will not become an IAS. And his career will just go, or he will end up if he's in the police, he will be a DSP for his entire life. Because there is no further promotion unless you are promoted into the IPS. So that is the level of authority they are having. You are a flamboyant young candidate. You have been giving interviews in Google, Microsoft, Adobe, whatever is the case. You have this demeanor of yours is such that whenever you give an interview, you're talking to an equal. What are some of those demeanors? This will be happening in both one-on-one as well as, first is you will have the habit of saying, yeah, or right, or okay, and nodding the head all the time, as if it is one of your team members and you're fixing a bug in a computer software or discussing a marketing plan. This is not the case. Some of you inadvertently, when come for this, a suggestion is being given. Yes, right, yeah, okay. This Yankee English from Bangalore will not work. It is severely penalized. Lack of formal English, if this there, then there'll be a problem. You can say when you don't know answers, or when you know that you're not very sure, you may end up saying something like, sir, from my limited reading, isko likho ek baar, likh lo. When you are not, for example, you're not sure of an answer, and you know it to be partial truth, then how do you say, sir, can I take a guess? Not allowed. You say, sir, from what I have read, use the word, from what I have read, / from my limited reading, / from what I know, / or from my limited understanding of the matter. These are allowed. What is not allowed? Can I take a guess? Don't make the person's blood boil. That after so much years of experience, you have a 20-year-old somebody saying, he has asked a question that what has happened in, for example, Delhi blast around Redford. What chemicals were used? Huh? Yes. It's a fact-based question. All of you would agree, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And in that, you are not sure whether it was ammonium nitrate or sodium nitrate. And it can happen to any of you. Then a better one, now you have two choices, either to taste sodium nitrate and take a risk, right? Or take a risk, or you don't say it at all. So this dilemma you will face in your interview, a practical challenge. In such a case, what is not to be said is, sir, can I take a guess? Because that is not, see, think of it as an official communication. Think of it as that a Delhi police commissioner is asking the DCP that, Mr. What's your name, young girl? Akshara. So she's a DCP and I asked her, okay, Miss Akshara, what chemicals were used? And then she has no clue. And she says something like to the police commissioner, can I take a guess? Do you see how much of a garbage communication that will be? If he gets such DCPs, will he be able to run Delhi police? समझ रहे हो उसकी दिक्कत? Now it may happen that Akshara may not remember the name. She may say कि sir जहाँ तक याद है, sir, from what I can recall, it was sodium nitrate. It is fairly all, where it means that she has saved herself by giving that alibi that, sir, I do not fully recall. So from what I recall, it was sodium nitrate, but I'll check, sir, and I'll just text you back. This is what he expects to hear. But he doesn't expect to hear, can I take a guess? And will he be able, he will be have to meeting 200 people in a day. That person will be bolte uska halat kharab. There are so many different areas. There is a Lutyens area, there is Swarglok, and there is Patal Lok, and there is Mrityu Lok also, this world also. If you are in Swarglok, you get one right connection, your life is set. After Delhi Police Commissioner, you will become UPSC member also. And if you are caught in one negative case from Patal Lok, then your career is in trouble, right? So you have to be navigating your career is not an easy task. So he has to deal with so many. And if every time I get something like this, so he will not have tolerance for an answer like that. Yeah, so you say, sir, from the best I can recall is, you can say that, sir, the best I can recall is this. And you can be wrong. Okay, you don't recall well, that's fine. But not saying something like, can I take a guess? Not. Then there is the overconfidence problem. See, the lesser, generally this will only happen in the first interview. It has never happened. Today, before coming to the class, I was just getting a call from one of my students. पहली बार में 200 plus marks आए हैं, अभी दूसरी बार में 150 आ गए हैं. ठीक है? So what happens is, what I feel was, the first attempt it was, first interview, young, first attempt, and you're fresh with a head full of hair, everything is going fine. The board will tolerate every mistake that you make. I wouldn't say he would be the best prepared. But the second interview, you're already in service now. Or the board sees it's your second interview. And the first time you're not well prepared, it's perfectly all right. Not that that should be the strategy. The minute I say some people make it the strategy. Right? It should be the fallback. It should be the plan B. No preparation is the plan B. Some people by hearing it make it the plan A. And they say, sir, plan A to ho gaya. मैंने क्या? No preparation. उसके बाद कहेंगे सर प्लान बी बताइए. No preparation was the plan B, है ना? So what will happen is कि sometimes this was not the case with this candidate particularly, but overconfidence may first will be the symptom of overconfidence will be no preparation. Why? Because they have been able to crack interview with the big 4 consulting, and they think that I'll be able to speak English, or for example, they were working with good Amnesty International and 4 major international organizations. I can tell you that I've spoken to a lot of people. You will find people who have generally work done. जैसे कि ये बच्चे एक हैं, essential sociology के author कौन है? So he and his staff and his profile had a lot of activities. And when I called him also, that time he was driving in Bihar, and he was traveling and he was working with either the World Bank or World Food Program, something like this he was working. So when he has written it in his staff, you will come to know that this person has done the work. And if you have done just Excel wala work and you have blasted your profile like that, thinking that, sir, I've worked in Amnesty, I've worked in this, I've worked in that, you'll find such people in your friend circle also. Then there'll be a problem. Then the marks will simply go down. So you have to remember, if at all you have an overconfidence versus underconfidence problem, I'm telling you underconfidence is more important. If at all you have to choose between one, why this? Because a little bit of subordination in your body language is necessary in the service that you're going. Don't get mad at me for saying this, but a little bit of subordination to a superior authority is necessary in the service that you are applying for. So be a little docile when you're speaking to the board. You will see a lot of interviews where people are appropriately docile. Then this is why you will get a score of generally 150 or less. The person speaks like a train. This will be a problem that generally very young people will have it. And people who will speak like a train? People with good English or bad English? Good English. So what will happen? I've asked a question. I am at my own pace. I'm having a post-retirement perk. That is my job. Now, I'm going to meet 8 or 10 students. I ask a very simple question, such as, so in our country, we still have overfilled trains, and sometimes even stampede happens at the railway station. What are some of the things that you can do about it? And as I'm asking this, I'm looking at your DAF and maybe I look at you. The person has a eureka moment. कि यही question तो तैयार किया था. And the guy speaks very fast, just at this page at which the other person is not able to hear unless he's focusing very hard on him. Do you get it? So you'll not be able to understand me unless you are very good with English or with language skills, or you are accustomed to my tone or diction and everything. Only then you'll be able to understand. Everybody else has to have all their ears to me to understand what I'm saying right now. Do you get this? Now in the first, what will happen is a lot of students will speak like this. The board is not going to be all their ears. For me, you are the 100th candidate I'm interviewing. It is your big day. It is not my big day. So I am talking, when you have to speak at a pace, I'll be having my cup of tea and I'll be having even a cookie in between, and maybe I'll drinking water and also be talking to my colleague. And you have given your answer like a train. And by the time, after asking question, you are not my priority. If you are, it is very good. These days, there is a lot more accountability because of social media. But earlier, ma'ams used to be there, question पूछ के सर नीचे कर लेती थी. ठीक है, या फिर तुमसे क्वेश्चन पूछा और वॉशरूम चली गई. अब तुमको नहीं पता है. सुजाता मेहता मैम ने काफ़ी लोगों का ऐसे किया है ना, कि ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछा, सर बिल्कुल नीचे कर लिया, जैसे तुम आंसर दे रहे हो. थिंक व्हाट डिड हैपन टू योर कॉन्फिडेंस. या बोर्ड मेंबर्स पूरा एक नोटबुक लेकर आए हैं, उसमें लिखे हैं कि गोचिंग लियोंग के क्वेश्चंस बनाए हुए, पन्ने पलट कर पूछेंगे व्हाट इज योर ऑप्शन, ज्योग्राफी. तो टेल मी 5 विंड्स एंड वेयर दे ऑकर. आई विल नेम द विंड, यू टेल मी वेयर इट इज. लू, फॉन, चिनोक. अब ये सब पढ़ के जा रहे हैं. उस दिन दहशत फैली हुई लोगों में कि भाई सब देखोगे सारे इंटरव्यू वाले यही पढ़ के जा रहे हैं. So those days you will not, because you will post on social media, so somebody will read and the correction behavior will come in the board. But let us say I ask you a question and then you have passed to a train and I'm talking to my colleague, or my colleague says कि पंखा थोड़ा तेज है, कम कर देते हैं. So I'm distracted. By the time I come back to you, you have, I have missed the train. And if I miss the train, you miss the train. If I miss the train, you miss the train. Civil servants, are they risk averse or risk taking people? Risk averse. I mean, yes, including the aspirants, if at all. Though it's very risky to write the exam, but the whole risk is being taken so that the rest of life is a lot less risky. I don't deny it's very risky to write this exam, but once you are in, the risk is, why take so much risk? The answer is so that there is no risk. That's the correct answer. Good, some of you figured it out. So the person, and in such a case, what will he do? Think of a bank manager. I'm interviewing this candidate for a loan and I did not fully understand his or her profile. Will I take the risk and give her a 50 lakh rupees loan? No. In most cases, I will try to deny. I don't want to be responsible. In such a case, I'm not going to say you will get less marks. In such a case, you will be getting average marks. And sometimes, if you have rubbed the board member, for example, a board member whose language skills are not at the top of the line, language skills of only few board members will be at the top of the line. See, for example, it will be from somebody from the Indian Foreign Services. They will be at the top of the line. The health factor, only generally people from both the IAS and largely the IPS, they will be very well sorted out. So with old age, some characteristics will prevail, or somebody is coming from the armed forces background. So their fitness level will be there. Communication social skills will be superior. Understanding के terms में, the IAS will be better for the simple reason that he has spent months and years in the field. So he knows कि गांव में जो दिल्ली में हो रहा है उसका गांव में असर क्या हो, where the electorate is sitting. The electorate is not in Delhi. The electorate is sitting in Bihar and Banaras and Eastern UP and Punjab and Haryana. It's in villages. It's not in the cities of India. So therefore they have an advantage. But yes, so make sure that you do not have this problem. How will you slow down? 2, 3, which in one-on-one session also I will tell. But apart from that, make sure that you learn to pronounce each word when you speak. I often joke that some of our friends from South, when you ask them, what did you had for breakfast? Delegates will say, sir, I had idli dosa. But if you ask some friends from South, they say, sir, I had idli and dosa. Each word I'm able to hear clearly. When I was asking him, sir, I had idli and dosa. I don't know idli and dosa. Now, if I'm not familiar, I did not expect that answer. Then I think that ये कोई नई ही dish है. I had banana and poha. उसको कह दी banana poha. अब मैं सोच रहा हूँ banana poha जो है, if I will get stress in trying to figure out or fully understand what you're saying, then I will pass the stress in marks to you. I'll pass that. So do not pronounce each word. Second is respect punctuation. If there is a full stop, take a pause. I could demonstrate, I know some of you. And I could, if I wish, I wish I could call some of you in to answer some questions. You will see that they are the talented ones, they are the bright ones, but they will have, this problem will affect, out of 10 people, it will affect 3 or 4 of you. It is a common problem. Then, as I said, the problem of garbage words. So now here, why this problem will happen is because you think that you are not comfortable with something that I called what is this word? Yes. So if the board member is quiet, and I have asked you a question that what is the reason behind these stampedes in the trains that is still happening? And maybe I've taken a quiet. And maybe I'll rephrase and again ask you another question. And maybe I want to say, why this is still happening in 2024? Why this is still happening in 2020? I wanted to say this, but what happened is you could not bear that awkward silence. Or maybe you gave an answer. So what happens is, in such case, you will make this mistake. Yes, I have taken a pause and maybe I'll rephrase my question or add a part that it used to happen before, but today also we have grown, we have camera, we have data. Then also why it is happening. I want to ask a second question. I've taken a 5-second pause or a 10-second and I'm comfortable. I'm going through a DAF and I'm thinking. And I say, why we are still have, I want to say, but before I can say this, you have also started answering the question. As if you would never get time to answer the question. So if you have this problem simultaneously speaking, and it will happen, not just in the board, here also it will happen. The board member is having a senior citizen or even in a one-on-one session. I want to take it at my comfort. Look, somebody will award you marks when you make them among other things, when you convince among other things, at least the negative agenda of should not, or he will cut your marks if you don't make them feel comfortable. And when will people feel most comfortable? 2, 3 things are there. First thing is definitely there that your speed at which you are speaking is matching with their comprehension skills. And that is very important. So the speed at which you are speaking exceeds their ability to fully follow and grasp you, then they are uncomfortable. When this will happen, then they will award you less marks. Secondly, simultaneous speaking problem is often seen as an attitudinal problem. Remember, in any government meeting, and I have attended some of them, so I can tell you that जो सबसे पहले बोलता है वही डांट खाता है. मतलब, if let us say chief minister is chairing a meeting of the district collectors and the chief secretary is there, and he will say कि the district collectors start telling us your problem one by one. Now you are a young collector and from Patna, which is the state capital. तो क्या करना है कि you start speaking, sir, my problem is, लब लब करके नहीं बोलना है, वहीं डांट खाओगे. The chief secretary will take over after a 5 or 10 second pause, बहुत आराम से, because it's a long meeting. He will say कि since Patna is the state capital, the Patna district collector can present his case. But don't be the one who's very enthusiastic. So this is what happens in any hierarchical organization. So do not be, so अच्छा, garbage words में problem जो होगा आपका, ये होगा कि your speed of thinking is very high, and second problem which you will face is that you will feel that if I don't start speaking, I will forget the question. ये अभी नहीं होगा, जब मॉक शुरू होंगे तब होगा कि sir, if I don't immediately start speaking, then I will forget the question. I'm telling you, start practicing from right now. You will suddenly realize that with practice, you will reach a point where suddenly you will have reached that Zen stage where you will not forget the question. And you will be able to have what is called a strategic silence or a strategic pause before answering. You will reach this, but this will happen with practice. And it will be happening with a conscious practice. It's a willful activity. It won't happen by just repetition. You have to strategically know that a question is asked and I'm going to keep quiet, and then I'm going to, speak that there are 3 reasons why or 4 reasons why, Patna gets an annual flood. Instead of saying, sir, I have been living in Patna for so many years and every year there's a flood, and flood is because of the Ganges and it is because of heavy rainfalls. And then after all this you are coming, or why Punjab is, for example, having a drug problem. And so instead of garbage, but because you think you'll forget and you're thinking right now. So you say n number of things. No, if you think long enough, like you said, 2 or 3 reasons are there. And this is a good line to buy yourself time. What you have said, you have to say 2 or 3 reasons. This allows you to even say 1 reason, 2 reasons, 3 reasons, 4 reasons, or 5 reasons. Right? So you can say first is that, sir, it is a border state. So a lot of drug trade is happening because of vested interest groups sitting in across the border that want to. The second reason is, for example, you can say that agricultural stagnation has brought a certain kind of prosperity, but with it there is no future. So the youth are disillusioned as to they are unable to see a future despite the prosperity that they are having. So they are falling into things such as, and then thirdly, the pop culture of the state, which has also played a role in normalizing such behavior in early years, which has led to an early uptake. And once you get addicted to drugs, it becomes difficult to de-addict people. For example, and fourth, the state government initiatives have not been directed. There's a feeling that there is a complicity of the political class or political interests are vested in not solving Punjab's drug problem. Now, you 3 या 4 बातें आपने बताई बहुत to the point. इसमें इधर उधर कोई garbage word. If you just take a pause, you will be able to do it, and you will have to practice this from right now. Lack of authenticity, I already told you. When I'm asking a question, when you have written it, then I want you to answer it. Social activism also, I told that social activism is not what I'm looking in civil services. The civil services usually is wary of activists. Who's an activist? One who goes beyond his stated duties. And more than that, why is wary? Because sometimes, it is antithetical to the very values of civil service. And then perfection seekers. This mistake is largely going to be made, as I said, is some people will give the first mock when they are fully prepared. So these are some of the things that I wanted to talk about. With respect to filling up of the DAF, we have to take few things. So before, yes, how people have filled it before you. So this candidate has both, in one of the years there is 200 marks, the candidate has maintained it, and next year he has gotten a 150 marks. When I asked him, for example, that why you are not changing, he says, sir, I've gotten good marks. So first, the lesson that is that while a good DAF is a good thing to have, it is not that just you have written down things in the DAF, it will have any role in your marks. I repeat, a good DAF, writing good prizes, medals, hobbies, achievements, is a good thing to have. But it will merely remain a hygiene factor. There is little or not much correlation between what you have written in the DAF versus the score that you have gotten. The board, if you have written these things, does not mean that the board is going to fully trust everything that you have done. Second, you get a good score only when you are able to answer every question from it. So this is, you can see how you can write, for example, first prize in India themed quizzes, best team presentation, feedback mechanism for advisory food security in state level essay competition. Now, one question that student has asked is, sir, I have nothing to show except a few gray hair in my preparation or some balding patch. Oh, that's all I have, right? In such case, conventionally, people have written achievements of school also. If you think, what I'm saying is that it's okay to find comfort in the middle path. I often recommend the middle path, not because it is the best path, but also because you will always you'll be comfortable in it and you will not have a sleepless night. While people are there who have done well and have not filled anything in, for example, sports, the problem that happens is 5 times before the interview, they'll come and ask the same question. Sir, sports में मेरा कुछ नहीं है. Sports में मेरा कुछ, अगर लगता है कि you are going to come 5 times to reaffirm this choice that you have made once for all, तो कुछ लिख लो, playing cricket at school or college, who's going to check? No documents will be asked, nor they will be accepted. But in such case, you must prepare. If you say playing cricket at school or college tournament, college level, no documents will be asked, nor will they be accepted. But then I will ask you that I will expect a question like, what is the difference? Any cricket enthusiast here? Yes. So Shubham, I will ask the question that, what is the difference in the captaincy style of Dhoni versus Kohli?
Dhoni was a quiet and calm captain, while Kohli was an aggressive captain.
Or that is his characteristic or? So a good way to answer it is, abhi se sikh lo ki sir 2 or 3 differences were there. One was that Dhoni was much more calm and cool, whereas the Kohli's leadership style was more aggressive. और बताओ, बोलो अभी इतना नहीं सोचा है, तो लिखोगे अगर क्रिकेट एज अ हॉबी, तो ये सोचना पड़ेगा. ये जीवन में याद रख लो, सोचने के पैसे होते हैं, ठीक है, अगर नहीं समझ में आता है तो उसी का रिवॉर्ड है, ठीक है. मतलब इतना बोल देने का मतलब, ये तो मैं क्रिकेट मैंने 2011 का, ये तो मैं बता दूंगा जी, और यहाँ पर तुम कह रहे हो मैं धुरंधर खिलाड़ी हूँ. मैंने धोनी तक देखा था, उसके बाद मैंने फॉलो नहीं किया, बिकॉज आई हैड प्रोफेशनल एंगेजमेंट दैट कुड नॉट अफोर्ड दिस, सो आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट कोहली. नाउ दैट इज ऑल्सो वन मोर थिंग, यू आर सेइंग यू आर अ क्रिकेट एंथुजियास्ट, एंड देन सो सम स्टूडेंट, सर कितना डेप्थ चाहिए, तो इस आंसर से ज़्यादा डेप्थ हमको चाहिए. क्लियर हो गया? 3-4 हमको सोचना पड़ेगा. अच्छा, ऐसा नहीं कि इट इज़ डिफिकल्ट, बट ये सोचोगे तो आंसर आ जाएगा. नाउ वन मोर थिंग मे हैपन, आई वांट यू टू राइट इट डाउन in your DAF register this question. Once you write it down, what will happen is that you will be able to think and you will get 3-4 points. बताओ, चलो अभी क्लास में बता दो, what are the difference in the style? Yes.
Sir, Dhoni used to believe in spinning the ball more often, while Kohli opted for pace factory.
Very good. Now see, he has given a very specific input. Dhoni used to go for
spinning the ball.
Spinning and
pace factory
versus pace factory. Now think of it. 2 people have said playing cricket as a hobby, and then one person says कि Dhoni was Captain Cool or Kohli was aggression. Second guy told me the technical factor. अब मैं समझ जाऊंगा ना कि इसने क्रिकेट बहुत दिन से ना खेला है ना देखा है, यूपीएससी की तैयारी में व्यस्त था ये. देख रहे हो कैसे आंसर चेंज हो जाएगा. सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट मी. बोलोगे सर आपने खेला, आपको कैसे पता? मैंने नहीं देखा है मैच, लेकिन मैंने इसका इंटरव्यू और ये तुमसे पहले मुझे आंसर बताकर जा चुका है. और भी कोई टेक्निकल पॉइंट है बताओ.
Kohli takes risks in any situation.
So you say that Kohli's risk appetite is much higher than what Dhoni was. Very good.
Sir, under Kohli, India performed very well overseas. Dhoni wasn't that great at tests, but under the pressure situations, knockout tournaments, Dhoni's captaincy style worked really well.
Okay, so Dhoni was a performer when it come to stress situations. He delivered when the stress situation. Yes, that is why the whole game.
Kohli told in an interview that Dhoni used to take the match to the last over. But Kohli said, I was used to finish the match in 17th over.
Now, just by these answers, I know some of you may have developed cold feet. कि यार इतना तो मैंने नहीं सोचा है, क्रिकेट तो मैंने लिखने का सोच रखा है, क्योंकि एक बैट खरीदा था और कॉस्को वाली बॉल जीवन में हरे रंग की 2 बॉल खरीदी थी. तीसरे के बाद तो कहा कि बॉल नहीं खरीदूंगा चाहे खेलूंगा नहीं. सो दिस इज व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, दैट व्हेन दिस इज व्हाट आई एम कॉलिंग प्रिपरेशन. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम कॉलिंग प्रिपरेशन, कि ये तैयारी करनी होगी. तो सो इफ यू आस्किंग कि सर क्रिकेट लिखे या नहीं, फॉर एग्जांपल दिस पर्सन हैज रिटन इंटर कॉलेज चेस टूर्नामेंट, तो चेस से मैंने खूब सवाल पूछे इससे. आई आस्क दैट हु आर द मेजर चेस प्लेयर्स, और फॉर एग्जांपल देयर हैव बीन चेस प्लेयर्स, टेल मी वन चेस प्लेयर हु became world champion but was immediately defeated in another match. I'm not able to recall right now. ये पिछले साल की बात है ये. Yeah, Gukesh, for example, became world champion and then he immediately lost to another. What is the reason? So you have to know that. You cannot say कि sorry sir, chess खेलता हूँ लेकिन इतना observe नहीं करता हूँ. और joint secretary political science department. So anyway, this is something that anyone can write if you are from a College of Social Sciences, Humanities, etc. Don't write Joint Secretary Political Science in Technical Degree College. कि सर MBBS स्टूडेंट हो लेकिन ये सब नहीं कर देना, ठीक है. और प्रेसिडेंट क्विज सोसाइटी, एनीबडी कैन राइट, राइट. ऑर्गेनाइज क्विज फेस्ट एंड फ्लोर, ऑलवेज राइट ऑर्गेनाइज XYZ फर्स्ट, लिख दो ये, नो प्रॉब्लम विद दैट. देन आई विल आस्क यू व्हाट आर द फंक्शंस, व्हाट आर द फंक्शंस यू परफॉर्म. तो थोड़ा बहुत यू शुड नो कि फंक्शंस ऑफ मैनेजमेंट आर, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, है ना, you should be basically know, okay, what is the difference between a manager and a leader or a manager, है ना. So you should know कि planning, organizing, command, control, coordinate, these are the functions of management. Solo budget traveler, nothing wrong with that. Anyway, in this age, you should be a budget traveler. And nearly every one of you will be solo only. No problem with that. But ये है कि 3-4 places, please visit. And it will be very important to have visited those places plus done good research. Wikipedia is a good source. Trekking, exploring contemporary Indian, indie music, quizzing, etc. This candidate has gotten. Then I think, yes, yes, this candidate has also gotten a 200 marks last year. Now this candidate, what I felt, I had a fear that this was a much loaded DAF. बहुत सारी चीज़ें इसमें से हमने हटाई थी. We had removed a lot of things from here. It was much loaded DAF. What I will recommend is, if you see that there are 4 things that are written. There are 4 things that have been written. You can write 1, 2, 3. You can keep it simple. 3 things you may write. And there are people who have written, because depending on which college you went to, because a lot of colleges have a lot of, for example, those who have studied in B school, then they have too many things to write. जितना लिख सकते हो लिखो, और अभी डरना मत कि मेरे कॉलेज में तो ये सब नहीं हो. सिंपल थिंग्स इन प्राइजेस यू कैन ऑल्सो मेंशन. अगर नहीं है स्कूल में, स्कूल कैप्टन वगैरह का लिखो. कॉलेज में कॉलेज के किसी टीम का लिख दो, ऐसे करके लिखो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ठीक है. स्पोर्ट्स में, है ना, इट वॉज नॉट दैट दिस पर्सन वॉज अ प्रोफेशनल स्विमर, बट दे हैव रिटन इट. And maybe I'll ask a simple question, that what makes Michael Phelps the best swimmer ever? Has he been defeated by anyone? One of his admirers, a boy who came to see and sign an autograph from Michael Phelps, defeated him much later. So you can have any other sports activity? And this candidate, from what I remember, I hope I'm not leak the name, but this candidate, for example, has gotten a rank 1 organic and rainwater harvesting at National Children's Science, gold medalist in BSc, MSc, ये डाल दिया इन्होंने. Now you don't necessarily have to, you say कि sir I've never won a gold medal, gold छोड़ो bronze भी मेरे पास नहीं है, पास पूछ होकर के यहाँ तक पहुँचो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है उसमें भी. यही सब लिखो. स्कूल के भी चीज़ें अगर नहीं है तो वो लिख दो. ग्रुप लीडर फॉर गुड आउट ऑफ वेस्ट कैम्प, हेड ऑफ स्टूडेंट डिबेटिंग, हेड ऑफ स्टूडेंट फॉर एनीथिंग यू कैन राइट. Other extracurricular activities, education work on. So this is what some people have put. Now coming to any questions with respect to first hobbies and all. पहले पूछो. Let us get done with it. Yes.
Sir, can something like reading newspapers or reading editorials be a good hobby?
It is a very good hobby. Then I will ask you. So you have this hobby. Which newspaper do you read?
The Indian Express, Hindu.
Okay. Who's the editor?
For Indian Express. Sir, there's a team of editors. With the
Chief editor. This will be my question basically. You get it? You can have it. Newspaper reading as a hobby, you can have it. I will ask you that what is the 3-4 colors that are there, that are in the print newspaper. Then you should not say कि sorry sir, I read digital. जैसे सवाल पूछा कुछ मुझे इधर घुमा दिए. विभाग में भी ये होता है. वहाँ जब कलेक्टर बनोगे तो भी समझ में आएगा कि बीडीओ साहब आपको बोलोगे प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी ने बोला जनधन अकाउंट खुलवाने हैं. बीडीओ साहब कह देंगे कि बैंक के लिंक फेल होने के कारण एक भी अकाउंट, और वहाँ प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी विल सेंड अ परफॉर्मा नंबर ऑफ अकाउंट्स ओपनड इन योर दिस ब्लॉक साइंड बाय द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर. अब शर्म आ रही कि 0 लिखकर और उसमें स्पेस इतना ही रहेगा कि नंबर ही लिख सकते हो, नहीं तो उनको पता है ही हैज डन योर जॉब. ही नोज इफ आई गिव हिम मोर स्पेस ही विल राइट ड्यू टू बैंक लिंक फेलियर नो अकाउंट्स, सो ही विल नॉट गिव दैट मच स्पेस. नेक्स्ट लाइन विल बी इफ 0 इज द नंबर प्लीज स्टेट द रीजन. वो परफॉर्मा में ही दिल्ली से भेज देंगे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर को, उनको वो भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट से जा चुके हैं, दे हैव फुल एक्सपीरियंस. तो परफॉर्मा में लिखा था कि 0 अगर 0 है तो उसका कारण नीचे लिखे, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि 0 लिखने की जगह लोग कहानी लिखेंगे. ठीक है. सो दिस इज व्हाट आई विल एक्सपेक्ट. सो यू बी वेरी थॉरो विथ इट. व्हाट आई विल से इज दैट विथ हॉबी मिथोलॉजी में बहुत एक ही दो, अगर सम ऑफ यू हैव मिथोलॉजी एज अ हॉबी, उसमें there will be inherent risk because an older person will beat you in that. Any other questions with hobby? Yes, young lady.
When I write something like journaling, like earlier I write in Hindi poems, but I don't read poems as you said. I just journal my thoughts as poems. Or
Writing Hindi poems, you don't read poems. That is okay. Increasingly, what I have seen is earlier, so it was thrown. This question was thrown कि भाई who tells the poets. And it was the minute you say reading poetry in Hindi, then I can tell you right from 2011-12 से बता सकता हूँ कि किक बॉल बोर्ड 10 पोइट्स का नाम बताते हैं जो किसी ने नहीं सुना था. Not in this building, in the previous building, I can tell you that time a different board was there held by Delhi Police Commissioner. My first rank 1 of Indian Forest Service. He had written reading Hindi poetry. And we did a lot of उस समय ये सब कुछ कोई लाइट वाइट ये सब बहुत फैंसी सेटअप नहीं था. So we did a lot of 5-10 poets we prepared, and then the same day he comes back and says, sir, they asked me 10 names, I had not heard any of them, because I had not heard, I can't recall also. Yes. नहीं अब लेकिन थिंग्स उसके बाद से जो है अभी चेंज हो गया है. बच्चे ऐसे हैं जिन्होंने राइटिंग हिंदी पोइट्री लिखा, बट यू शुड बी एबल टू एटलीस्ट 2 या 3 पोइट्री आप बता सको. प्लस यू शुड नो कि वॉट जॉनर और एनीथिंग जो कैटेगरीज होते हैं उसमें पता होना चाहिए कि इज इट हास्य कवि है, ठीक है, या व्हाट इज द जॉनर, दोस थिंग्स यू शुड नो कि व्हाट इज इट. यस यस
सर, आई हैव रेड ओनली वन बुक as far as
and you want to claim yourself as a poet. ये सब वीडियो डालने में देख रहे हो कितना खतरा है. बच्चे कह रहे हैं यूट्यूब पे डालो.
I want to consider myself as a poet. I want to write that book as reading this book as my hobby. So should I write it or not?
बोर्ड देखेगा कि पहली बार सन 2025 में एक या 26 में एक युवक आया है कि मेरी अमुक किताब पढ़ने की रुचि है. ये हॉबी नहीं हो सकती है. कि वैसे कि बगल में तुम्हारे ये मेरा फाउंडेशन का स्टूडेंट है, ये कह देगा सर गुलाब का फूल लगाना मेरा हॉबी है ना। तो क्यों? क्योंकि उसे डर है कि गार्डनिंग लिखूंगा तो बोर्ड विल आस्क, सो ही से प्लांटिंग रोज ट्री। ये हॉबी नहीं हो सकती, गार्डनिंग ही हॉबी हो सकती है। रीडिंग फिक्शन, नॉन फिक्शन, पोएट्री, ये सब हॉबी हो सकती है। नहीं तो क्या होगा, अतरंगी लोग लिख कर आएंगे, कोई एक काम करके आएंगे। कोई कह देगा मेट्रो से करोल बाग से शादीपुर जाना लिख देगा, समझ रहे हो। मेट्रो ट्रैवलिंग इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द हॉबीज यू कैन राइट, है ना। कि सर कोई भी सिटी रहती है ना, देन मैंने 4 सिटीज के मेट्रोज में मैंने एंड टू एंड ट्रैवल किया। इट्स अ गुड थिंग कि सर आई सी द बेस्ट मेट्रो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी विद ब्राइट आईज। यू से कि सर विद बेस्ट मेट्रो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी इज फॉर एग्जाम्पल बैंगलोर मेट्रो और यू नो द मेट्रो दे हैव लॉन्च्ड इन बॉम्बे। इट्स अ गुड हॉबी, बट उसको सर्कमवेंट, नाउ यू आर नॉट गॉन एनीवेयर। तो कह रहे हो गोइंग फ्रॉम करोल बाग टू शादीपुर इन मेट्रो कैन नॉट बी अ हॉबी। अमुक किताब प्रेमचंद की गोदान ही मेरी हॉबी है, बार बार जब मन होता है गोदान पढ़ लेता हूँ। नहीं लिख सकते हो। गुड, अच्छा हुआ कि पूछ लिए। हाँ बोलो।
How specific should hobbies be? Like for example, cooking or reading non-fictional and fictional books. These are very generic also.
No. So very good. She said that these are, whether, see why I say is please break it between reading fiction and non-fiction. You can say it either write fiction or non-fiction or write self-help group and emerging. You put this and try to have at least read at least 3 books and up to 5 books. And you, again I repeat it, you don't have to read the whole book, just read the 5 chapters from any of these segments. If you're going to read fiction, non-fiction, fiction you will have this problem that if it is, because it will have an end. Non-fiction doesn't have a end. So you may read 5 chapters and say that, sir, I read Why Bharat Matters, and you have written 3 or 4 chapters you've read, and you can fairly understand what will be the theory of it. So you you can do that. You be specific with the genre that you have written. Yeah, so when you write cooking as a hobby, for example, you can write cooking South Indian cuisine, or for example, cooking Italian dishes, or if cooking continental dishes, or what is sometimes पहले लिखते थे, अब नहीं लिखो cooking घर का खाना, तो वो काम है, cooking नहीं है। अगर मम्मी ने समझाया कि ये हॉबी फॉलो कर रहे हो तो आज एनलाइटन होके जाओ, लड़ाई कर लेना आज, है ना। Yes. Understanding, studying feline behavior. It is a good hobby, pet care and understanding feline behavior. Tell me, why does a cat purr?
Because she feels relaxed to sleep. That's why that feeling of purring and vibration attracts it to other cats also. Like if 2 cats are there.
So you have to see, this is again very good. Now this is, I want the class to observe one thing. She said one thing. Now when you again, so she said very good thing. She said that when the cat is relaxed, it makes a purring sound. And the minute she continued it or overspoke, I get a feeling that she was not fully convinced if her first part of the answer was, she was not having faith in her own answer. So immediately what you did, you added, and also to attract other cats. You did that. Now, the way you answer, bring that calmness. Sir, 2 or 3 reasons can be there, or 1 or 2 reasons. A lot of people who study this say that when cats are comfortable and relaxed, they have a purring sound. Also, sir, to attract other cats, they may have, though I am, from my study of feline behavior, I can tell you that the second reason is not true. That to attract other cats, that's not the case. Sometimes in anxiety also cats will make a purring sound. And remember that, so when you write that, it will happen that I may have, I don't have a cat, but I may have interviewed a person with similar hobby as yours. So I will know the answer, which is why even if you have a very atrangi hobby, don't think that I am a 60-year-old man and I will have no idea about it, and I will, even if I don't have an idea about it, I will have an opinion about it. With respect to, and you research it, it will never be purring sound is generally the relaxed nature. There is contrary behavior that even at anxiety they may make a purring sound, but it's not the sound they make because the sound or vibrations are not loud enough to be heard. You may argue that those have a frequency that we cannot hear. That is one argument you can make. But largely the first part, so this is what you will have to read about. And when you are not sure, then you see some people also say, sir, that they make a purring sound to attract other cats. You may say that. Getting my point?
So can eating food or like appreciating various cuisines, which mostly might involve non-veg food?
How you put it, because the minute you spoke the first few words, I was a little afraid. Because you took that strategic pause. Can eating food and then you kept quiet for a few seconds. Eating food cannot be a hobby. So you can say कि trying or experimenting with various cuisines. है ना? You write it and then ask, you clarified कि sir, when they ask you this is not cooking cuisines but eating them. Fair enough. Yes.
I sorted one entry for each of A, B, and C. For D, I have 2. Should I stress myself to find out another 1 and 2 writing? Should I make it multiple for A, B, and C?
I do not get your question. Like
A, B, C section.
So 7A, 7B.
Okay, so you've sorted out for A, B, 1 for each.
So should I stress myself to find out another one, like second, third? जैसे इसमें 2-3 है.
Up to 2 to 3 you write. There is nothing wrong with it. In case sports वाला जो कमजोर पॉइंट है, इस बच्चे ने भी इनका भी फॉर एग्जांपल नहीं मिस किया है, ये ओके है, लेकिन कोशिश करो कि 2 या 3 लिख लो. ठीक है, उससे क्या होता है, इंटरव्यू बिकम दिस पर्सन हैज आल्सो गॉटन एक फर्स्ट रैंक है इनका भी कभी ना कभी. ठीक है, सिविल सर्विसेज में फर्स्ट रैंक है, इंटरव्यू में भी नंबर मिले हैं, 200 नंबर मिले हैं. यस.
Is listening to a particular singer's music can be a hobby?
Not a singer, but generally a genre is hobby. Otherwise, everybody listening to Kishore Kumar और किशोर कुमार का पूरा एल्बम सुन के वहाँ चले जाएंगे. What singer do you listen to? हाँ?
Zubin Garg.
Okay. See how you can encapsulate it in a certain genre or something. Yes.
In my hobby written, I feel interest in handloom sector.
Yeah. Now that's a very broad thing to say. As in keen interest in understanding handloom sector, or what is it about? Like, can you elaborate?
The designs, the weaves, the history.
So you can always say कि studying the handloom sector, है ना? Studying, for example, or you can use the word textiles or designs and yes, थोड़ा उसको एक बार word discuss कर लेना बच्चे, ठीक है? Any last questions? Yes, बोलो.
So, what about the internship and NGO that I did 3 years ago, but I also contacted them again, and in a limited capacity, I worked with them again. So that was after a pause of I think year or 2. So how to mention that? Because second time I joined, it was more in advising capacity as a teacher. Initially, I actually taught people online, but after that, I arranged the timetables.
You can mention it, but what I'm going to ask a practical question. And for example, you say that, sir, I taught online. Then what is one problem that learning outcome will happen? Then, for example, I can tell you with experience that if I'm teaching online, then what will I do? I will use the map of India and show it to you, and you'll see, wow, sir has such colorful maps. But what will be the problem with my student? He doesn't know how to make the map of India. That will be the problem of EdTech.
So at that time we faced the limitations of devices that the students had. So they had to share one small screen with 2-3 students in themselves, and because the NGO was not basically focused on studies aspect, so they had limited time in pursuing their education. So that was the main problem that I as that section faced.
You can mention it as a hobby. In internship and this, you can mention this. You can either put it in job, it is okay. Even if it was having people have mentioned 0 stipend also, people have done that. Or you can put it in any of, people have put it in extracurricular activities also. Yes, young lady. Either in jobs or employment, are you allowed to edit it? Because they want latest update, you can put it there. Yes, in the work experience that you have. If you got 0, you can put 0 as a remuneration. That is okay, yes.
So I was working as a book reviewer on social media platforms, so that will go in employment section.
On social media platforms, no, you put it more is, there's no formal, see, the minute you don't have an employer-employee relationship, right? You were doing for social media companies, you do not have a single, it's a freelancing. It is better always to put it in your extracurricular activities, or in a hobby also. Yes.
Sir, I had an internship where I worked in the state index. So we created an index. So I want to put this in my tag. Like
Which organization were you working for?
So it was a political consulting firm.
So you were paid for it. You want to put it in your employment details.
So not really in the employment details. I want to talk about the work, not the organization.
So you can always talk about your achievement, the interstate index, है ना? While as a political consultant in Jan Suraj or whatever you feel like, you can do that. Yes?
So can we mention the same thing in two different sections? As in?
Yes, people have been repetitive. That is okay. Chalo, let us.
Documents are not required for this. Like if you've worked.
Yeah, documents are neither required. 2 years back, they were saying that please upload the supporting documents. So there was a scare feeling. But after that, in the UPSC, you are only supposed to, what are the documents you'll need? You'll need your 10th class mark sheet, which will tell your name. Aadhaar card has to be carried. Graduation, because that is an eligibility criteria. So graduation degree has to be carried. In case you don't have graduation degree, then you carry the final year's mark sheet. Because a lot of places, this happened during COVID years. We had one student, she did not have a graduation ceremony and the UPSC said that you are not eligible. So she went to, we had a conversation, a long mail, and then she got in touch. She was my student and first attempt, Ferguson College ki bachchi thi. So we went immediately to Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court gave the order for UPSC to conduct the interview. She had the interview on the last day. She got a score. She got a 200 rank in the Indian Police Service. 21 years, 1 day age. है ना, एकदम 21 साल में youngest IPS officer of the country. Nowhere on social media. अभी हम लोग चाह रहे हैं कि फिर से पेपर दे, because we are coaching teachers. We want people to write the exam और आगे बढ़ो, है ना. 199 rank.
Same is with the job section also, sir. Like because of the informal nature of a lot of jobs, even if the salaries are there and if there was no ITR file or something of that sort, so do we have to present them with?
No. Once the salary is there, the IT. Okay, you may not have filed an ITR. If you have received a salary, you write it. No problem with that. No documentation. See, these are fiduciary relationships. It's done in good faith. All right, but once you're doing a lot of things, don't share it with your friends. The problem happens when somebody writes a complaint against you, that misrepresentation of facts had been done by this and this person, then you will get into trouble. Otherwise, nobody is going to ask a question. All right. And second, that is the reason why Commission has made it very clear. I'm not going to verify any certificate. Neither we have the potential nor the ability. We take it on the face value. If there's a complaint, then we'll take an action or we'll pass the complaint to DOPT. So people who have made a false claim, even 20 years later, they are having a slip. Whenever something happens, they will see, they will delete the account. Then again, the thing will be fine, then they'll activate it. Okay. Now let us move to the service preferences. Invariably, if you have any doubt, this takes the first place. In case you have a doubt between putting IAS versus IFS, anybody has this doubt? Yes. What are you planning to fill then?
Sir, my basic issue is that my family is not supporting Indian Foreign Service as a second preference.
So I'll make this clear for you. First is, if you fill up Indian Foreign Service, if you're fully convinced. I have wonderful students and friends who are in the Indian Foreign Service. I have not seen anyone with a deep regret, because they wanted to do it. And I've seen, last year, I think she was ranked 9. And when I was, after the community meet, we were traveling back, she said, sir, everybody is saying you made a wrong choice. What do you think? I said, what I think does not matter. What really matters is what you think. And the last time I spoke to her, she was in some Latin American country, probably Brazil. The last time I spoke. Uske pehle Europe mein thi. She was very happy. And there are people right now who are in the Indian Foreign Services. They only have troubles when they come to India because they don't get the same position or respect. Having said that, remember that the prestige of Indian Foreign Service vis-a-vis the Indian Administrative Service. Two things are there. First thing is that Indian Foreign Service was always a superior service before IAS in the early times. And second aspect is that when you come to India, then you find that there is no recognition for the service. A third aspect is that people who are serving in Indian Foreign Service, they are guided by the values of that society. So you are in Indian Foreign Service and you are in Europe, there is no recognition because even the president will be traveling via metro and people will not give him that bhokal treatment. So that is right. But if you go to, for example, Sri Lanka or Nepal, then you will get that treatment. But that's not what you may feel in the initial days. People feel like that. Later, nobody feels like that. Now, the last aspect is, especially for women candidates, when they choose Indian Foreign Service, then largely I have seen when the other spouse they are not able to get any foreign service, and they generally, the spouse is in Indian administrative service. As I know, at least 6 or 7 such couples. सबने लड़ाई करके पहले तो क्या हुआ, first phase the women have made a compromise. Instead of being deputed at the UN, what they have done is they have got deputed at RPO, Regional Passport Office, because the spouses are in under the state government in the initial years of service. But soon they realized that that is not what they wanted to do by becoming an Indian Foreign Service officer. In such case, then they pull at first, generally the male spouse pulls them into the state. Then the second phase, women get stronger with passage of time in a marriage. So in the second phase, what has happened is, even before the person can complete 2 tenures as a collector, they have pulled them into central government, because they can be either in Delhi or they can be international. So I know several people who wanted to be a collector for a long time. Their families also wanted, my son will be collector. But after 5 years, they have come to Delhi with very diminished powers, privileges, perks, functions in secretariat, while the other spouse is either in Delhi or on traveling the world. So this is what happens. In case you have a huge doubt, then opt for IAS as the first preference. In case you have a doubt, my logic is not based on any evidence-based, but what I can tell you is, I may have met a few people who are in the Indian Foreign Service who have said कि ठीक था, अच्छा है, but IAS भी लेता तो वो भी अच्छा रहता. I mean, I've met people who said that even if I opted for IAS, it was also good. At least I'd be in the country, and you know. And second is, I've not met anyone in the IAS who says कि काश IFS opt करता. Lastly, closing remarks is that the IAS has a domination in the secretarial system of services. So while everybody disagrees who are in the service, generally what I've seen is that the IAS has one benefit कि वो जो चाहते हैं सो हो जाता है. मतलब in your workplace, if you want to do something and get things done, it will happen. Everybody else has to ask someone. In the IAS, what happens is the only person who can stop them is their own service seniors. But in other services, the only challenge that happens is somebody in the IAS can always stop what they want to do. Okay? So in case of a doubt, prefer IAS first. Number 2 can be either police service or foreign service. This has to be, it's a choice based. After you are done with this, number 4 will be, increasingly we feel that custom and excise is to be filled at number 3, and you can fill it. Women candidates, I still recommend income tax as number 3. This has to be based on what people say after 5 years or 7 years or 10 years into service. This is purely based on that. And what real life is. I know I should be telling you ideal things, but the reality is that what I've seen is for women candidates, I prefer it because marriage is the other reality of life that all of you will have to face. And the social life which all of you will be denying and probably getting angry at me that, sir, why you are even factoring in this? But just like your career is a reality of your life, so is your marriage and social obligations. Marital prospects remain a lot bright. Also, among my students who are in the Indian Police Service and other services, a lot of them now who are in motherhood, a lot of them feel कि sir, I just wanted to clear the exam with a top rank. I'm fine अगर IRS IT भी रहता because it has a good work life. This service has the best work-life balance. So I'd be fine with it. It's not that, of course, they are able to say this now because they have enjoyed all the perks of, you know, the Indian Police Service, and they've all the respect, and now they don't want it any longer, or they don't enjoy it any longer. So which is why they end up saying something like this. Then after that, in 5th, increasingly people are filling audit account services. You can do that. And after that, the accounting services. In this, when I spoke to one person with civil accounts, 6 number पे इन्होंने क्या डाला है? Yes, foreign service. So let's look at number 7. Yes. What has happened is I spoke to a candidate before your session from civil account services, and this service, this railway management service was earlier a lot down for the past 2 years. I mean, we were putting it here. What was the reason? So I'm saying to you this because you'll be scared once you fill this. Everybody will make you feel afraid that, अरे what have you opted? ये क्या कर लिया तुमने? Because 2 years later, what was happening? UPSC, I mean, the government DOPT said that we'll be splitting IRMS or we'll be combining all services into IRMS. Then 2 years later said that, oops, we'll not be combining, we'll be having separate. After that, again, they combined it. So क्या हो रहा था ना कि people, there was one batch initially which was only in IRMS, only one batch was there. वो देख रहा था कि मेरे senior भी IRTS and my juniors are also IRTS. So they were fearing a lot of future. If everybody is like only one batch, then again the government combined it. Once they combined it, we have railway management. This person said that railway management services, depending on what you want, railway management services benefit is that it has resources. The resources of railways are there, so it ends up being a good service. If at all you have if you do not want it, then in these services, the civil account service can be filled up, and then you have the defense accounts. Yes, and then civil accounts and defense accounts will go. In this, people have also recommended the civil accounts. One benefit is that you get to stay in Delhi, but the resources are less. Defense accounts mein, the benefit is there that you have multiple good cities to go in. And if you're not particularly obsessed with Delhi, then this is what the civil accounts people, a number of them said कि sir defense accounts को भी ऊपर रख सकते हैं. You get, and because the minute you move out of Delhi, you get a lot of amenities in Delhi because you have the whole bureaucracy and the whole political leadership thing. So anybody in Delhi never gets those many amenities. So this is what, with respect to the nature of work, it is an accounting job, so it remains. Then corporate law service has been put by this candidate. I will put it now from this onwards, nearly every service will be the same. Then you have to see it from the bottom. The bottom may what will put generally, unless you are from Pondicherry, this goes the last, the Pondicherry, because they are group B services. Then this goes, uske baad ye hota hai 17, 18. Now some people may, who are from Delhi, they may keep it DANIP services as higher in precedence, the DANIP services. Because the benefit of this service is that you get opportunity for public interaction. What is the negative? It's a group B service. So don't think that in 10 years you'll become IAS and 10 years you'll become IPS. You'll be competing with all the 28 states in terms of promotion from the state services to the all India services. And it generally, the promotion will be such that after 20 years your name is recommended, but that recommendation is made further 7-8 years later. तो अभी 2025 चल रहा है तो रिकमेंडेशन चल रहा होगा, अभी चल रहा होगा 2016-17 का. So you will be promoted with back date from 2016, but that promotion will happen when 2025 में, है ना? उस समय तक क्या होता है, बहुत सारी अदर चीज़ें हो जाती हैं लाइफ में, तो ये दिक्कत हो. So that is the reason why group B services. Then this goes, इसके ऊपर फिर AFHQ या तो इनके ऊपर आता है या कई बार ये भी लास्ट में आता है, because this is section officers grade. या इनके ऊपर डाल सकते हो, कुछ लोगों ने इसके ऊपर डाला है आर्म फोर्सेस हेडक्वार्टर, या नीचे भी रहते हैं. देन इन द लास्ट, उसके बाद लास्ट में आएंगे आपके, यू कैन फॉलो फेयरली दिस सीक्वेंस. लास्ट में अगेन फ्रॉम द लास्ट यू कैन गो फॉर दिस ऑल्सो, इंडियन रेलवे प्रोटेक्शन फोर्स सर्विस. दिस विल गो ऑल्सो इन द लेटर लास्ट स्टेजेस. Ordinance services are already gone. It's no longer there. Trade services and corporate law services. While corporate law service is good, these services, trade services and corporate law services, they go last because the services are not very well defined right now. Even in corporate law services, the offices are not made, so अभी work बहुत छितरावत हो, काम की दिक्कत है. उसके ऊपर you will have, ये नीचे जाएगा, उसके ऊपर पोस्टल सर्विसेज विल कम दिस, ये उसके नीचे जाएगा, ये उसके ऊपर रहेगा. उसके ऊपर यू कैन कीप डिफेंस स्टेट्स. द चैलेंज इन डिफेंस स्टेट्स इज प्रमोशन एस्पेक्ट्स आर लो. द गुड थिंग इज यू लिव लाइक अ किंग इन वेरी गुड प्लेसेस. मैं कई बार ऐसे डिफेंस स्टेटमेंट्स इस्टेब्लिशमेंट्स को मैंने खूब एंजॉय किया है इसी कारण से. बहुत काम के बहुत अच्छे घर रहते हैं और कहाँ रहेंगे, एकदम धर्मशाला में होंगे एकदम, है ना. तो ये सब चीज़ें हैं. यू विल आस्क देम, देन आफ्टर स्टेइंग इन 5 years इन द सेम प्लेस दे गेट बोर्ड से कि सर प्रमोशंस नहीं है. दे आर विलिंग टू स्टे इन स्मॉलर प्लेसेस एंड स्मॉलर हाउसेस. जैसे अरे इतने बड़े बंगले के मालिक हो और सारा हॉलीडे डेस्टिनेशन है. Then after 5 years they start complaining, सर चौकीदार है, मालिक नहीं है. But what happens is in the jobs, the beauty is that coming from civil service background, in those cantonments you enjoy parity as a civilian head along with the military heads. So you have it's a good job. इसके ऊपर ये जाएगा. You can fairly follow the rest of the sequence. इसमें you will not be wrong with respect to the services after civil accounts. Yes.
Sir, I think
Yes.
Sir, I don't think we are allowed to change the preferences at this stage. We've already
allowed है.
Because in the main UPSC assignment, they are not mentioning that you can make changes to preferences.
नहीं चेंज करना है तो नहीं करो, अगर मिल रहा है तो कर लो. Again, as I said, if you have attempts left, then after civil accounts, it won't matter. I have spoken to nearly every service, including some service where they said कि सर मैं एकमात्र ही बंदा हूँ क्योंकि बैच में ही मैं एक ही बंदे की वैकेंसी ही थी. तो वो पूछूंगा कि सर्विस में व्हाट इज द चैलेंज. सर नो चैलेंज एक्सेप्ट दैट आई एम द ओनली ऑफिसर इन वन बैच एंड इन ऊपर से भी बैच में शायद कोई सीनियर ही नहीं है तो अगला सीनियर बहुत ऊपर है. तो माई सर्विस प्रॉब्लम इज दैट माई कार्डर स्ट्रेंथ इज लो, बाकी इट्स जस्ट एन अदर अलाइड सर्विस, सो देयर इज नथिंग प्रॉब्लमेटिक विथ इट. ठीक है, सो दिस इज वाई सेड दैट आई हैव नॉट सीन एनी वे. मैं इससे पूछूंगा कि पोस्टल बढ़िया है कि इन्फॉर्मेशन. एक तो क्या होता है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर अगेन अप्लाइंग फॉर द एग्जाम आफ्टर 2 years ऑल्सो. तो कहेंगे सर इसमें और भी दिक्कत है, मेरी खराब है उसकी और भी खराब है, ऐसे बोलते हैं सब, इसलिए बिकम्स वेरी चैलेंजिंग. So that is will not get into the details, the perks. एक जनरल प्रेफरेंस है, you cannot be wrong with it. इसमें समय बर्बाद करने से फायदा. अभी वीडियो आएगा जो सबका वेतन, सैलरी, पे, गाड़ी, बंगला सब बताएगा, उसको देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. इससे आगे बढ़ेंगे. जो मैटर करेगा वो कई बार ये मैटर कर जाएगा. Now here you know the roster system. You have been given 5 zones. How it works is you fill up the 5 zones. It will take you whatever is your first preference, that zone will be seen first and the first entry of that zone will be there. If that is available, then you get it. If it is not available, then it moves to the next preference zone and there the first entry will be done. Similarly, it will move to the third preference, fourth preference, fifth preference, first entry. Once that iteration is complete, it will go to again your first preference and the second state. Now with respect to the IAS, I can tell you zone 1. Again, if depending on your home state, you fill up your home state. So this is, I have done it from UP. I took a UP candidates who was appearing for the second interview. उसका ये है, तो यानी कि उसने पहली बार कुछ गलती भी की हो. But anyway, this is a good. So if you're from UP, I'm telling you this is a good state. Let us go zone wise. इस zone में number 1 is Haryana. But people are not filling Haryana. Why? मिलता नहीं है. So you strategically place, which is why this candidate has also done the same thing. So you place Rajasthan because वहाँ मिल जाएगा. So what the fear is, you put Haryana and then there is no, नहीं मिला. So this whole zone is skipped. And maybe the next zone is south or northeast. So that is why you try to go कि ऐसे generally setting करते हैं लोग कि iterations ना हो, northeast के पहले मुझे कुछ मिल जाए. ठीक है? क्योंकि इसमें से कुछ भी हुआ, अगर बुद्धि नहीं लगाई ये वाली, तो फिर इधर हो गए. Then you will, after selection, immediately you start your marriage pursuit. ठीक है? So in this one, this is number, I'll tell you the preference. This is number 1, this is number 2. A lot of people fill this as number 3. Women candidates, I have seen some women candidates, my own students, they have filled this as number 3 because they wanted to stay in Delhi. They wanted the Delhi way of life. And 3 years later also, when I speak to them, they say, sir, this is the non-negotiable part for me. Even if somebody is from UP cadre, they will want to come change the cadre and come to AGMAT. Then I will, settle down. Otherwise, I won't settle down. So for those people, it is that negotiable. Those who love to stay in Delhi, कि भाई IAS बनना था बन गया, लेकिन अब मुझे दिल्ली में रहना, I want to have a certain kind of life. People have opted for that. Apart from, if you don't opt for this, then the next that falls is not Uttarakhand but Punjab. Because Uttarakhand has its own challenges, has a hilly terrain which gets much here. So for transport also, so after that Punjab, then Uttarakhand, then Himachal. In case you are not keen about agmat, then this goes last. But it will not go इसके ऊपर ही रहेगा, हिमाचल के ऊपर रहेगा. Why I have put Himachal at the last? Yeah. Yes, good. Terrain inaccessible, nobody comes to see you. You get very good houses. We have a lot of friends and students in Himachal. बहुत सुंदर घर है, लेकिन मिलने जाता कोई नहीं है. फिर उनको आना पड़ता है तो उनको चक्कर आता है पूरे नीचे उतरने में. ये सब प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं कुछ. Zone 2 में, depending on what is your home state, this remains number 1 if at all in doubt. Even for people from Bihar, they have opted, it's okay if you opt UP. It is the best state for services. Number 2 definitely goes to Bihar. Number 3 goes, depending on the language, this can go or this can go. But largely if you're from Hindi speaking belt, then this goes 3 and this goes 4. Is this clear? In this zone, the number 1 is MP. It is all India number 1 also. If there are 3-4 states which are on top, then it is Haryana, Rajasthan and MP. Then you have Maharashtra goes next, Gujarat goes and Chhattisgarh goes last. If at all you want good, if you have been somewhere from the central India, then you may opt for Chhattisgarh earlier. And it's a fairly good state. Peace, calm, all things are there. Isko earlier opt kar sakte ho before Gujarat if you do not want to get into the lingual aspects or if you're from a Hindi speaking belt. Huh.
Can I choose Gujarat over Maharashtra in second?
People have done that. People have done that. They have chosen Gujarat. What are your reasons?
Kind of more beautiful place as compared to Maharashtra.
To that, my response will be, how cute. He says, more beautiful. You are worried about that whenever election will come, they will target. That can be a reason. Very good. In this zone, see, for the IPS, West Bengal will be remaining 1. For the IAS, a lot of people have said because of too much politics there, a lot of people have ended up taking up Assam. But I've often felt people from Assam, and the Assam problem is that it will be earlier a united cadre, and then after going there, you will be given either Assam or then you are in trouble. So that is the catch there.
So what about taking the Sikkim risk, which people usually do?
There are people who have been allocated to Sikkim क्योंकि वहाँ पर किसी ने, हाँ?
So 25-30 रैंक वाला हर कोई फंसता है, but बाकी सबका निकल रहा है.
हाँ, एक रैंक होल्डर मुझे लगता है अब हमारे स्टूडेंट ही है सिक्किम में. कर सकते हो ये वाला गेम. ये गेम कर सकते हो. I have seen lot of officials from Sikkim being in central deputation. Then you have to be very clear that central deputations are. In fact, in the secretariat, you will see a lot of people from Sikkim. They have gotten early repatriation. This you are doing because you value one value over other values. What is this? ये है बस इसलिए. Otherwise, the order will be, for example, Assam, Meghalaya, West Bengal. इसमें लास्ट में तुम्हारा नागालैंड जाएगा, उसके पहले मणिपुर और उसके पहले त्रिपुरा. Then in this zone, depending on which state, if you're from the north, you may opt for Karnataka is opted. This Telangana is also good actually. So you can opt either this or this. And then the last will be this, 5th place will be this, 4th place will be Tamil Nadu. If you're from the north perspective, and this will go after it. So you can opt for Karnataka, then Telangana, and then Andhra. Between Telangana and Andhra, people have chosen either, but Telangana is good to choose. All right? Yes?
So there was only one vacancy for outsider and unreserved for Madhya Pradesh last year. So should I opt for Maharashtra, which has greater chance of me being ending up there, rather than being in Madhya Pradesh, rather than being in zone 4 or zone 5?
Yes, you can do that. People have done that. That is why you'll see a lot of good students and good ranks will be there in Maharashtra. They see it as the इस महाराष्ट्र के बाद अगले वाले ग्रुप में नहीं जाना, इसलिए तुमको बहुत टॉप रैंकर्स महाराष्ट्र कैडर में दिखेंगे. Yes. Yes. Zone 4 में from a north perspective, where are you from? What is your home state? From zone 4 जोन 4 में इट्स डिफिकल्ट, सिक्किम भर सकते हो, नहीं तो आसाम मेघालय, या दिमाग नहीं लगाओ वेस्ट बंगाल भर दो, बिकॉज एनीबडी इन तीनों स्टेट्स में जो है ना, जो भी है वो थोड़ा परेशान है, बट ये भी बात है भरोगे तो मिल जाएगा। वेस्ट बंगाल से अभी सिर्फ एक ही बच्ची का अभी तक हुआ है बाय मैरिज कार्डा बेस्ड ट्रांसफर, शी इज अ फोरम स्टूडेंट। हाँ, she got rank 3, no, but change. So what happens is that the Mamata Banerjee government is not allowing change even if you are marrying from outside. Long cat battle was fought by the student. She has changed to Bihar cadre. वैसे तो इसके कारण this is sometimes less preferred and this is the reason why people have gotten for this. So इसमें you can go from the last. The last is Nagaland, उसके पहले मणिपुर, उसके पहले त्रिपुरा, उसके पहले सिक्किम, उसके पहले आसाम मेघालय, उसके पहले वेस्ट बंगाल. But अब once CAT has given the judgment, after that there will be no trouble. And in this zone, number 1 remains generally Karnataka. इसमें सब कुछ है, ठीक है. उसके बाद coming from north, you can go for Telangana, then Andhra, then Tamil Nadu, and then Kerala. Kerala goes last in this.
And so, can't there be like questions like, okay, if you're from Delhi or you're from certain one state, then why have you fit another state as your first preference?
So what is your reason?
For example, because suppose you're saying now that people, Haryana is good, but then people prefer which one? Rajasthan, so that
those are, don't see, please fill up your preferences on the basis of what you want in life. Don't fill up the preferences on the basis of what question board will ask. Everybody has filled it up. Those questions are very defensible, but I will not give it in the class, because then what I will give, everybody will say the same answer, then there will be a trouble. ठीक है, so ये one-on-one session के लिए रहेगा. Yes.
Huh?
How difficult is it for a northern candidate to work in certain states?
It is challenging, but those are harsh realities. Tamil Nadu has a language issue. Sometimes Maharashtra also has a language issue, Tamil Nadu. But see, these states, Tamil Nadu, and is also geographically far, so they sometimes become a lot more troublesome. I know some very senior IAS officers who are in Tamil Nadu cadre, so they feel that coming to Delhi becomes a lot troublesome. But apart from that, chief secretaries from Bihar and UP have been chief secretaries in Telangana and in Andhra Pradesh also. Their kids also have studied here. So I know, and they get they do well. So nothing like they have a major working challenges. Where there are linguistic identities, some problem will be there. And it will also depend on what is the dominant politics of the state. For example, in Bihar, all the IAS officers from South, they immediately get a good posting. All right. So it depends on what is the current, under the current regime. If the regime changes, then suddenly you will see this thing. So you can't predict all of those things. Now looking for the Indian Police Service. See, in the Indian Police Service, determining factor becomes, first is that how developed is the state. If the state is developed, then what happens? There will be police commissionerates. Police commissionerates have an advantage that a lot of district collectors or district magistrates' office becomes very limited. They don't have that much powers. So the IPS has all the powers, and for this reason, preferring states with a commissionerate system is preferable. All right. So in this case, let us see the zones. In this case, a lot of people have gone for AGMAT in a very young age, in a very initial days of posting. For example, here itself, some of the officers sitting in your mock panel, I suddenly met them in Pondicherry. They are like the senior SP, the very senior officers of the whole state. They are there. Okay. So ये यहाँ पर हो जाता है. You can opt for AGMAT in the police. If you don't understand anything, then if you don't have any such preferences, then please maintain the preferences. This as 1. This as 2. As again I said, you can fill it as 1. So because Haryana chances are less, so you fill up Rajasthan. All right. And Himachal goes, Punjab is these days going last, but Himachal goes last. You can keep Punjab after Uttarakhand, if at all. Simply because law and order situations are sometimes a little dicey. In zone 2, UP remains good. This remains number 2. Number 3 is Jharkhand from an Indian Hindi-speaking person, and then Odisha. In zone 3, Maharashtra becomes good. Even if you're from the north, Maharashtra remains good. Number 2 remains. Maharashtra ke pehle MP ko dalo. MP is why MP? Not because of MP police, but because MP of a good place to be, it's a good state in itself. ठीक है? But in case you think कि MP नहीं मिलेगा, तो महाराष्ट्र डाल देना. So this remains number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Zone 4 में you will have with police, people have preferred this. Clearly, IPS officers have said कि आसाम, मेघालय और वेस्ट बंगाल में हमारा better है. Police also is better as in because there is so much political violence that police has an upper hand. So this stays at number 1, this stays at number 2. Number 3 is Tripura or Sikkim only if you have plans like coming to Delhi. There are a lot of people who are taking Sikkim because they are afraid not to go to these places and don't want to do they have clarity ki they don't want to do cadre based marriages. तो फिर सिक्किम ऑप्ट कर लेते हैं. They stay there and then they come to Delhi. हैं बहुत सारे बच्चे. So you can either fill this, go for this one in the 4th place, and then 5 and 6 the preference will remain. Here, number 1 in police, generally a lot of people have preferred Telangana. And then this has taken number 2 position, this has taken number 3 position, this takes number 4 and this takes number 5. Yes?
What is the difference between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh in both IAS or IAS?
See, different years there has been a different narrative which we have gotten from the people who have gone there. See, what happened with Telangana is that they got a very aggressive government which started doing a lot of things. So there was a lot of focus, a lot of powers were given to the bureaucracy, as in a lot of funds were given to the bureaucracy. You have a lot of resources to do things, including police modernization. I can particularly remember an IPS officer, he came, so I said, chalo, kahin chalte hain. His vehicle was not in the best position. And I had met him in Hyderabad. So he very apologetically he said, I know this is not good. Actually in Telangana, there is good modernization is good. So there our amenities are very good. So we are able to do a lot of things. So that is the reason this, but now this Andhra also remains good. But if you have a doubt, Telangana ko upar dal do, koi dikkat nahi. And it also has the benefit of what? Hyderabad. Yes.
So would you suggest any changes for women for the cadre preferences?
For cadre preferences, no, I would not suggest, except the fact, no, I would not suggest. With respect to women candidates, as I said, again, don't take it in any other wrong way. I have people in my family, women candidates, because the minute your career question is addressed, the next question will come before all of you, and that changes a lot of things. So remember that. And women in services have a problem that because you can either, given the social structure, only upper mobility in marriages are being sought, and that is the only chance they have of working sometimes. So you have to be aware of the constraints. No, I would not suggest any changes, but usko, in service preferences, I have said, allied services are also very good. Revenue service, income tax is very good. If at all you feel that you would prioritize a good work-life balance, you may give preference to, after IAS, you may give preference to all the allied services. All right, even above police and above foreign. If you're very passionate about foreign services, that's the only reason you should. And remember, last thing, having given all the preferences, if you're passionate about something, then there cannot be any logic or rationality for it. If you're passionate about something, then there cannot be. That is not the domain of logic and rational. अगर passion है किसी काम को करने का, तो फिर उसको कर लो. It doesn't have to math and rationality will not work there. ठीक है? So you can make those choices. All right. So I think that is all. Any last questions? Yes.
So in AgMut, more posting.
AgMut के साथ अभी क्या हो गया है कि थोड़ा सा JNK का इशू है, but still अभी यहीं पर साउथ दिल्ली में डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर लगा हुआ है. 3 बार मुझे काम पड़ा. मैंने देखा he was first in Andaman Nicobar, immediately went to JNK, but immediately I don't know how he came back. He's from Delhi and 36th rank, है ना. तो बच्चे जो भी जम्मू कश्मीर गए वापस दिल्ली आने का उनको आसानी से मौका मिल गया. And he doesn't have any godfathers. I mean, he doesn't have any, not very, he's just like you. पापा का एक छोटा सा शॉप था and lost his father after getting selected, so he was deeply परेशान. तो मैंने 3-4 बच्चों को मैंने देखा है, बहुत JNK गए हैं 1 साल 2 साल 1-1.5 साल, उसके बाद they come back to Delhi. ठीक है, तो कर सकते हो. It doesn't make it untouchable as of now. ठीक है, चलो, thank you class.